for doing it. You good? I call to order the regular meeting of council for Wednesday, May 13th, 2026. I'd like to start this meeting off in a good way by acknowledging that we are gathered on the Treaty 8 First Nations territory in the long-standing presence of the elders and the ancestors of Treaty 8, and that through this acknowledgement we extend recognition and respect to the BC Treaty 8 First Nations and all of those who call the Peace Country home. I'd like to move on to item number 3.1. Recommend that council approve the agenda for the meeting dated March 13th, 2026. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Discussion regarding this evening's agenda. I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor?
In favor.
That is unanimous and carried. What I'll do, Councillor Wall, is unless you say opposed or if you say nothing, I'll assume you're in favor. How about? Does that work?
Good for me.
Good for you. Okay, perfect. Item number 4, adoption of minutes. I'd like to recommend that council approve the minutes from April 22nd, 2026. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Woodall. Discussion regarding those minutes. I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor? And that is unanimous and carried. Introduction of late items, none. Public hearings, none. Delegation 7.1. I'd like to welcome our MLA, Larry Neufeld, who's in attendance regarding the Housing and Municipal Affairs Code of Conduct Amendment Act for 2026. So, Mr. Neufeld, you can stand up there at the front if you like.
Certainly.
That black camera right there, that's on the filing cabinet, if you stand in front of it, they're going to be stuck staring at your back the whole time, so don't stand in front of it. All right. So, I know that we have a couple of councillors that have some questions regarding the Code of Conduct. I know that we'd spoke previously that it's not quite been debated yet.
Correct.
But I think if you're willing to offer any information, if you have it, that would be fantastic.
I'll tell you what I can at this point, but I'll be very frank that it has not even been discussed in caucus. It has not been presented to caucus as yet. It's not on the order paper. I don't anticipate it getting onto the floor this session. That being said, the NDP is in charge, and a lot of very funny, strange things have been happening the last little while they're very upset with us over Bill 9 that we didn't acquiesce, and so they've been throwing things at us. So it is possible that it would end up on the order paper, but it is currently not scheduled. I will be very frank again, because it hasn't gone through caucus yet. I haven't studied it, so I had to do a quick bit of research on it today. And the other thing that I would add is that there is not a consensus within the official opposition as yet, whether we would support this, whether we would support it with amendments, whether we would fully oppose it. So I think this is a really good opportunity for me to hear what the concerns are, so that if we do decide to support it, then we can push for support with amendments or full opposition. So with that, I would love to hear from council and mayor as far as what those concerns would be.
Okay.
All right, mine's kind of short because I know Councillor Wall and Councillor Rowell have dived into this quite extensively, and they have some great concerns. Generally with it, from what I've seen, I like the overall idea of it, right? Having something to help hold elected officials accountable. I think with the society that we're in and the way things have, devolved or revolved, it is needed. Where I do have concerns, and like I said, Councillors Wall and Rowell can probably speak on this a lot more, is the overreaching power that the minister has in there. There's some definitely overreaching power in there. And then the other thing is I know there's currently some legislation that the provincial government can come in and they can pretty much mess with municipalities to an extent. The other concern is how much more power does that give them to come in, right? I do like the idea of having a third party for investigation and kind of removing that out of our hands to an extent, and then having that come back to us for a decision. That I do like. And some of the accountability portions of it, like if somebody's labeling multiple complaints, or if there's a complaint filed, that again does enter into the public realm eventually, and that we can be held accountable for what we say, which we should, as elected officials. But what I really dislike about it is that it does seem to potentially remove some of that autonomy that we have as a local municipality over the way we govern ourselves, which, good and bad. But yeah, it's mainly the overreaching powers that the government essentially give themselves. And where my fear is with something like that is in this next coming election as well, there's been talk about allowing political parties as to run, for municipalities, right? So, somebody could run for a political party in Pouce Coupe, and now what happens if a political party that gets elected in, say, Pouce Coupe, say it's a conservative government that gets elected in Pouce Coupe, NDP government, now they have that overreaching power. How is that fair to our citizens? How does that affect us, right? So one, staying independent on the municipal level, I think is a good thing, and retaining that independence by having basically Big Brother there to say, hey, here's another tool in the toolbox we can utilize if we need to. But again, limiting that overreaching power that the province is potentially bringing through in this legislation. Like I said, Councillor Rabel and Wall have dove into this much deeper than I have, and or have some opinions on it as well.
May I respond?
Absolutely, please do.
That, again, I haven't read the act, I've read a summary of it. That would be in keeping with almost every bill when you mention overreaching power. That is something that we have argued on almost every bill that has been in front of the House since I've been elected. The NDP is on a trajectory to consolidate power and to create a situation where a lot of decisions are made behind closed doors. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, those decisions are being not even made by caucus. They're being made in the Premier's office.
Yeah,
That's been our experience to this point.
There's a reason we have elected officials to represent the public, right? And as they
That are
start taking
accountable
that
to the public in your region, absolutely.
Councillor Rabel.
And thank you for coming, MLA Newfeld. So with looking at this bill as it's currently proposed or suggested, ministerial overreach, I'd say, is kind of the main thing. It intends to give new powers to the minister to either, so we went through a process previously of developing our own codes of conduct. The ministry forced that on all municipalities. You either had to say why you didn't develop a code of conduct or you developed it. We did. We have our own code of conduct. We're accountable to the citizens, and if they don't like us, they can also vote us out or come attend meetings. Like, it's all very transparent and public. So we're already held accountable. What the concern I have personally with this suggested bill is that the minister can appoint, if quorum isn't met because there's so many people under some sort of eye, they can then, the minister can then appoint an investigator to then go through it and all of this. But it gives a lot of powers to the minister to effectively either interfere with the investigation or to dismiss the entire council or dismiss particular individuals. The open-ended language is effectively anything. It's a provincially centered code of conduct. Essentially, it's taking something where we should be a buffer. We should be a separate level of government as we are. And yes, we are a beast of the province, but we are necessary as municipalities. But what I'm getting at is, it's honestly the overreach. I don't mean to, I'd say that's that. I apologize for the meandering language, but there's several portions of the bill that I don't agree with, but there's specific portions that I don't agree with.
If I may respond.
Please.
That again is very typical of what we've been seeing. The open-ended language was what we challenged them on very hard over Bill 9. For anyone that followed, when we sat until 4 a.m., we were prepared to go for 28 hours straight. We had the schedule set up. The challenge there is exactly what you're hearing and what we argued in Bill 14, what we argued in Bill 15, what we argued in Bill 7. That is where they're going, without question. It's the open language, decisions made behind doors, and I realize I'm being recorded, and I realize that this is for posterity, but I'm not saying anything here that I haven't said in the House. The ministerial overreach is a concern to me, and it's a concern to our caucus, for the simple fact that, again, you've already identified it. You're accountable to the people that voted for you. I'm accountable to the people who voted for me. A ministerial assistant or a deputy minister making a decision behind closed doors that wasn't elected, where's the level of account? So I do hear you, and I hear you very loudly.
Councillor Wall, do you have any questions?
I have 7.
I have 7. Okay, all right. Well, maybe don't do them all at once.
Okay, so I have a few different. I'll list my concerns with the legislation. Firstly, going to what the MLA's point is, that a lot of decisions are being made behind closed doors. regarding the political weaponization of this legislation, I'm worried that it could be used as a political tool rather than a genuine ethics mechanism, because councillors often disagree over housing, whatever, taxes, Councillor Woodall, and whatever it may be. And there is sometimes, they could see a disagreement as disrespect or incivility, but those disagreements are what create a healthy debate. And I feel like this legislation could definitely reduce our ability to debate because of the sanctions that come into effect based on either the minister, so the legislation states either the minister or the premier have the right at their sole discretion without, they can appoint a mediator, they can appoint an investigator, but they don't have to. They have the right to, but they don't have to. They can just say, okay, you're not on council anymore, or your council is dissolved, new election. If they don't get who they want at these local government tables, this is giving them the power to nullify entire elections through what I see as I know this is recorded, but under the guise of a code of conduct, which I really don't see it as a code of conduct. Most municipalities in BC already have one. We have one. It seems to be working fine. My serious concern, though, is the lack of due process and protections. It doesn't require disclosure of allegations from either party or the government or the minister or the premier. It doesn't require hearings. It doesn't give you a right to appeal. It gives them the right to implement adjudicators, but it doesn't make them do it. It says they can. And it doesn't provide any protections from frivolous complaints. The other councillors have talked about the vagueness of it, so I won't go into that, but there is a serious concern of mine that would reduce transparency, reduce the healthiness of a lot of the debates. And, I mean, we see it in other communities already where the province interferes just because they can. And I have no idea where these decisions are being made or who's in the room or what information they have. But I feel this is a huge, huge overstep, because it's, in my view, it's encouraging closed-door conversations when really the accountability is to the public. So as much things as possible should be held in public, which is what we try to do, and we'll really limit that. I'll stop, but that's where I'm at.
And my response again would be similar to, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. I get paid to talk, and I don't get paid enough to talk as much as I do, but I do. This is, again, a very, very common situation. I could list off at least half a dozen bills off the top of my mind where we have had exactly the same argument that has been presented here tonight. That is where this government is going, and what their rationale is behind it. That was what was so bothersome to us, for instance, on Bill 9 and why we fought it so hard. It really, if you do look into that, that is restructuring the Freedom of Information Act. It is making it incredibly, I shouldn't say incredibly, making it significantly or notably more damaging and more difficult for the likes of you, likes of me, likes of the not the judiciary, they can still have access, but the media, the interest groups, stakeholders. It's become very challenging to get information out of the government. They're very much pulling power inwards, and they're pulling it not just inwards, as I've said previously, but they're pulling it into the Premier's office. And when you do, as those of you that have been to Victoria, one entire giant block is the Premier's office. That one office has more individuals than our entire caucus and our staff has for one individual. And that is where the vacuum of power is right now. It's concerning to us, it's concerning to me, and it should be concerning to the people of this province.
Yeah. Sorry.
May I go ahead, Mayor?
Well, how about, I'm just going to interject and then you can finish. Does that work, or do you have a response?
Go for it.
Okay, perfect. No, I definitely understand where the concern is coming from. Part of me does support certain parts of this bill. I know provincially we have seen a lot happen with elected officials over, I would say, the past 10 years, where the victims of this behavior are the community. And it is the community that, gets the bad rap. It is the community that gets impacted for tourism, for people purchasing homes, for economic development and benefits. And so there are parts of the bill I do agree with. There is a point where I think the conduct of any elected official, when it begins such severely affecting communities, that's when that accountability bit does need to come in. And I think it puts councils and staff in a very awkward position when they're trying to run and govern a community, but it's amongst themselves that they're trying to hold somebody accountable. So I do think the third party coming in makes the most sense. It does give municipalities a little bit more power to hold their elected officials accountable. But I do also understand that some of that language is very, very broad. So, there are certain things about it that I think are beneficial, especially with the things that we've seen in the past 10 years. Kamloops being one, right? That was all over the news for months, if not 2 years, that impacted the community, that impacted the staff, that has a ripple effect. Pouce Coupe has faced its own challenges, and so there are definitely parts of it I appreciate, and I think that they're thinking in that direction, but I think the language is too broad. So even when you argue for it, I would just ask that it is something that does need to be dealt into. Do I think that it needs to lock or tie the hands of everybody? No. But I think that there needs to be some empowerment given back to communities when their representatives are severely impacting them. And I think that that's something that does need to be fought for.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
And again, this is something that we have established as an official opposition, that we are not okay with the excessive overreach of the current government. We don't, when they're being recorded, we don't trust them. It's because it is with very broad language and done behind closed doors. So you and I don't have an opportunity to participate in those conversations. We don't have an understanding of the relevance of what's being said or the input that's going into those conversations. So again, if there's a poison pill in the room, how do we know if that poison pill isn't unduly influencing the decision?
Yes. Thank you, Councillor Wall, for allowing me to step in. The floor is once again yours.
I appreciate that. You're the chair. I was stepping on your toes.
I'm just very polite. It's fine.
Steel toe boots.
Under this code of conduct, that might be considered disrespect and remove me from office. Anyways, this provincial code of conduct, I think would allow elected officials to be investigated, which is good, even though we already have that. But it would also allow them to be silenced or suspended over subjective accusations such as disrespect or incivility or working against the greater good, whatever that's supposed to mean. And it poses a direct threat to the democratic government, in my view. Democracy depends on open conflict, frankly, sharp criticism, and on the freedom of elected representatives to challenge power without fear of punishment. When politicians at the local level can be disciplined for dissent towards a provincial government, debate stops being free and becomes regulated speech. The result, I fear, is going to be a chilling effect where local elected officials will have to self-censor controversial voices that are pushed aside and are pushed aside, and political disagreement will be treated as misconduct, which we already see happening in some communities that have implemented similar codes of conduct. Luckily, ours isn't that way. Anyways, long term, I see that the power might shift away from the voters and the elected representatives towards a bureaucratic process or land right in the Premier's office with unelected investigators and council minorities even, or not even people that are on council, these bureaucrats or elected people in Victoria that maybe don't represent our community or other communities, they represent their communities, right? Could be capable of weaponizing or creating these fake complaints to suppress opposition on what's happening at a provincial level. So, long story short, I think if this gets implemented the way they have it, they could use it to pretty much just end democracy at a local government level. Yeah, there's good things in it, for sure, but, you know, come voting day, if those elected leaders aren't already doing that, then that's on them, and the voters know.
Again, well said. There's nothing in your argument that I could disagree with. Again, the mayor has articulately illustrated why there's components of this that are needed. And I'll be honest, obviously several individuals at least are more aware of this bill than I am. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. What I will say that on a basis, as I've already said previously, is we have a proven track record of opposing overreach and opposing behind closed doors decisions. And while I'm not the leader of the party, I'm not running for leader of the party, so it's not ultimately my decision, it certainly would be my expectation that that is exactly the same position that we would take on this bill. Again, that's not up to me to say, but I am saying it. That would be my expectation from my colleagues and from myself, that this would be at least those components. We're very pragmatic in that we realize we don't have the majority and we can't stop the bill from being passed. What we can do is make it miserable enough for them so that they do make the amendments whereby we can ask for these very common sense changes and embarrass them in the public and embarrass them in the media to do so.
Well,
I very much appreciate that. Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you so much for, coming out and giving us the opportunity to bring forward our concerns. And I know as you're going off and you're reading and learning more about this bill, it's given you some of the things that we're also thinking about.
Yep, and thank you for that. I'm quite certain I would have came up in 30 seconds. I would have came up with the exact same responses because that's who we are. But this is an excellent opportunity to be prepared better than some of my colleagues will be.
That's what I was kind of thinking. This is a really great opportunity for you to get on that floor and say, I have actually spoken to some of our mayors and councils
And what I will do, what I will commit to, is that once this does hit the order paper, I will reach back out and solicit perhaps even written comments so that I can table those. And with permission, I would even utilize those in speeches that I would make in the House to add impact and to add power to the bench.
I can imagine that the gentleman at this table would appreciate the opportunity. So, thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for coming out. It was lovely to see you. Thank you for coming to Blair's 35th Long Service Award recognition. It's been wonderful to have you. We love having you come out and,
Especially on such short notice.
Especially on such short notice, you very flexible guy.
Throw the dart while you can.
Yeah, that's right. So hopefully we will see you in the next coming months. Our next big thing is Canada Day, so I'm looking forward to seeing you then.
I look forward to it, yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, have a fantastic night. Do not feel like you need to stick around. These sometimes go pretty late. So.
Are you going to be down at NCLGA next week?
I don't know. We're sitting next week. We sit for 2 more weeks straight, and then I do believe that we get a couple of weeks straight off after that. But that's I chuckle when I say off. That doesn't mean.
It doesn't actually mean off.
You get some time off to go enjoy fire season.
Yeah. No, it means that I'm back in the constituency.
Yeah.
So, but yes, unfortunately, the next 2 weeks I am in Victoria. So.
Well, have a safe flight and a safe trip, and tell Tammy I said
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you later, Larry. Have a wonderful night. All right. Moving on to unfinished business and business arising from the minutes. Mr. Councilor Wall, do you want to take this one on just because you were the one that kind of started it?
I was having a hard time unmuting myself. Yes, sure. Actually, could someone read the motion and then
Yes,
I'll go from
please,
there.
Councillor Ravel.
Expression of interest in regional discussion regarding permanent time alignment, that council directs staff to deliver the letter regarding Mountain Daylight Time to the Regional District Board.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Wall, thank you. All right, so as you can see, staff have been really working on this conversation. I did bring this forward. Originally, we had spoken about it. I brought it forward to the PRD board, and just because we weren't really looking to have them move in any specific direction, they were like, we were just trying to generate a conversation. They had said that bringing forward a letter to put on to the agenda would be the best way, just to really have that overall conversation. So staff have taken the time to draft the letter. I think that this is definitely the best way. Most likely this will be on the agenda for June. What I'll probably do is just get any comments from the members of council that you would like me to bring forward. And then of course our meetings at the PRD table are always videoed, so you can always log on in and see how it goes. But any discussion regarding? Yes, Councillor Ravel?
Thank you for the draft of this letter. I think it's a wonderful letter. I agree and in support of sending it off. Having our economic trade area here cut in half by 2 time zones is laborious. Like, to actually negotiate times between Grand Prairie and Goose and Dawson and Fort St. John, it's tedious, and it's costing this region a lot, and it's inconveniencing folks, it's leading to missed appointments, it's leading to a lot of issues. We need to unify our economic trading area to the same time zone. You know, that's my opinion, and that's where I'll leave it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wall?
Hi. So I really like the letter. I would like to make a motion to amend it slightly so that paragraph 2 reads, to restate, council is seeking to determine whether there is support among regional directors and member communities for aligning the regional district's time observance with Alberta, and whether broader regional discussion or public engagement should be undertaken. Council believes this matter carries regional significance, given the shared workforce, commerce, education, healthcare, transportation, and daily across boundary interactions, that regularly occur between the communities and the provinces. It's a short tweak. I've already sent this to Duncan.
Oh, okay. I was just going to ask if you sent that to Mr. Melvin. Okay.
It's just moving 2 sentences around basically, but I feel it makes it more of a easier read.
Okay. Would anybody like to second the amendment?
Well, I second it to bring it to the floor.
Okay, yes.
And then my response would be, so it's not changing the spirit of the letter, it's rearranging the words that are effectively already there, correct?
Yeah, it's just adding it moves 2 sentences and adds some reasons via like the workforce, commerce, education, healthcare, all those sorts of things. That's basically a list of different things.
I believe those reasons are in there presently. The one that jumped out to me, Councillor Wall, through your worship, is aligned with Alberta. So we can, like, in the first sentence, is that the main new addition?
That's what I'm trying to go for. It's to keep our time zones aligned with Alberta now that they're on permanent daylight time.
Right.
So it would still say, to restate, council is seeking to gauge whether there's interest among regional directors and member committees to align. Is that where it goes in?
Right. Yeah.
That's where
It's under the regional directors, member committees, to align the regional district's time observance with Alberta. Right? And whether broader regional discussions or public engagement should be undertaken. So we're asking for them to talk with each other, and then also the next step, if those conversations are fruitful, and then that council believes this matter carries regional significance, list of stuff, and a lot of stuff happens between our communities and provinces.
Okay.
So
just because you have that wording in front of you, Mr. Malcolmson, and you can see it where I can, does it change the tone of this letter or the ask, or is it all still the same?
To my quick review here, it doesn't seem to be honest. It seems to, I mean, no disrespect. I think Councillor Wall is, to his credit, attempting to, or trying to add strength to the letter, but it seems to largely rearrange what's in it.
Okay, all right. Any other questions regarding the amendment then? I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Would you like your opposed noted?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay,
I'm opposed to the time change in general, so. I'm gonna be voting opposed to all the time change stuff.
yeah. You know what? I'm just interested in hearing the conversation on the board table. That's my, I'm not for or against, I'm interested in the conversations. But sometimes we all get there and we have really interesting things come from those conversations. So I'm a little bit interested in that. So I'm in favor of hearing what everybody has to say. Okay.
Yeah, it's what I want to hear, is what everyone has to say, and then if there's a consensus, I would like to see what the public has to say too, so.
So I'm now going to call the question on sending out the amended letter to the regional district board. All those in favor? And all those opposed? Would you like your opposed noted?
Yep.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much, Councilor Wall.
I sound like a wall when it comes to voting for minutes.
All right, moving on to new business 9.1. I'd like to recommend that council approve the final draft of the 2025 financial statements as presented. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councilor Woodall. Thank you. Discussion regarding the financial statements, Councilor Ravel.
So this is the end result of the auditor coming in, presenting us with the information of their assessment, and we've effectively been given a clean bill of health, correct?
Yeah, there was just a little bit of confusion regarding some labeling of things. Everything lined up. It was just some things were labeled as something else, like they were.
We called it a thing, they called it a bobber.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So other than that, they were really, really happy, and that's something that our CFO spoke to at the last meeting that they're going to be working with them to kind of fix. And so there were no red flags. There was nothing that was super crazy. Am I understanding that correctly, Mr. Wilkinson?
Grouping expenses in the income statement, and there were a few notes at the last meeting. There was a good conversation the council had about cash on hand, overall liquidity of the organization, and then there's also some learning points that we discussed about moving forward, which is working with Eclipse on that grouping of expenses in the statement of operations, and making sure that we're got all our grant records shored up, because I think there's been some public sector accounting principles that have caused things to tighten up a little bit there recently. So, yeah, we're trying to centralize all of our grant records through this effort, but there's an opportunity to tighten them up further going forward.
Any other discussion? I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor? And that is unanimous and carried. Wonderful. Moving on to item 9.2.
Sorry.
The council develop a adopt policy 1.29, artificial intelligence AI use as presented.
Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councilor Johnston. Thank you. I actually brought this forward to staff after my last PRD meeting. The Peace River Regional District recently came up with an AI policy. I thought that it was a really good idea for us to have one. AI is something that everybody is now using, whether you're in governments, they're using it in schools, they're using it in almost every workforce at this point. And I think it would be beneficial as AI use amps up for us to have one. So I very much came in, I spoke with staff, I let them know about the PRD policy that was put forward and adopted by the board, and they quickly drafted this one up. So any questions regarding the policy? Yes, Councilor Ravel.
I appreciate it. I think it's a very poignant and timely discussion. I'd say there's kind of two parts to this conversation. One part is obviously the security of information. You don't want folks, throwing in a bunch of confidential information into an AI saying, oh, please make this a nice little spreadsheet for me or whatever, right? That's the risk there, because there are no guarantees that because you're putting the data into a large language model, it is a part of that, and it could be reproduced on the other end somewhere else. It's a black box. So there's a risk there. So obviously you need to constrain and prevent folks from releasing sensitive information to the AI. AI is becoming more integrated into their computer systems. It's becoming a part of the actual software and basic functioning of a lot of products, specifically Microsoft products. But what I would suggest is that we maybe expand the definition of artificial intelligence, because it says typically requires human intelligence. I think that we should also include the definition of, say, autonomous software operations or autonomous agents. There are now these bots effectively that are released and are continually doing tasks and stuff. I just want this to be more future-proofed, because if artificial intelligence, especially as we approach the singularity, will hit a point where it's beyond human interaction and it's effectively functioning on its own. I know that's a whole broader conversation that's bigger than this table, but you know, let's try to be a little as proactive as we can at this stage in technological development.
Councillor Little?
Yeah, so kind of building off what Councilor Rabel said. The other thing is any information that's put into these AI systems, right? Where are the servers housed? Right? Are they in China? Are they in Huawei? Are they in the United States? Are they in Canada? And I believe we have a duty, especially for confidential information, for our information. I can't remember exactly what it's called off the top of my head, but we do have an obligation to still make sure our stuff's secure within our own country, so that it's not accessible to foreign agents. I'm pretty sure that, you know, China isn't going to come, you know, take over the little Scooby, but we still have that obligation, right, to protect our stuff, especially with the amount of data breaches and stuff that's out there. And if somebody were to get into our system because of this, it could, you know, there's 1,000 people arguably that information could potentially be released. Then the other thing is if we're using AI, and even if it is being looked at by a person, right, and there's a place for AI, how does that affect us with WIPA? Right? Do we release, well, ChatGPT told us this. So how does that affect our security end of things and our WIPA end of things? Because again, we don't know who has access to this AI. And there's been records this last little while of data breaches where they've gained access through AI systems or that kind of stuff. And yes, AI has great stuff like when you're trying to write something and help you word it, and then that kind of assistance is all right, but then again, we need to be very cautious. And with the way society is going too, like I know, well, for some of us, when we were in high school, like, you know, 42 years old, when I was in high school, the big push was technology, get into computers, technology is the future. You fast forward, you know, 20 some odd years later, and I was just watching the news last night, and there's people in the tech industry being laid off left, right, and center because of AI, and they're screaming for somebody that can run a drill and swing a hammer, right? So the end of it is AI can't replace everybody, which is a great thing, but I think we need to be very cautious on how we use it and what systems that we use. So if we are using AI, make sure it's something reputable. And I know it does create more challenges with being in Canada, and most stuff comes out of, you know, the States or China or larger centers. There isn't as much technology for Canada. So, you know, good old people, right, is still, I think, the ultimate thing, but it's just something we need to be aware of, is where that information is being saved. Part of the reason why I bring this up too is I've worked with other organizations where we're going out doing stuff, and we were uploading information, or occasionally information would get uploaded onto a mapping program that was based out of the United States. And because it was potentially sensitive information, where the information belonged to another organization, a federal organization, as soon as it hit up there, it created security issues, because now theoretically a foreign entity or foreign body has access to government information. Yes. So that would be my big concern with getting into AI, is because AI pulls from so many different sources to amalgamate its answers. And as we know, it's not always correct either. So very strong human oversight, I think, is definitely needed. And fleshing out exactly what parameters AI could be used for. So writing a speech, writing a letter, that kind of stuff is fine, but you know, like, and I know when we start getting into our GIS mapping and looking at our infrastructure and stuff like that, AI does play a part into that mapping and flows and everything else. So I just very cautiously on how we venture into this world.
So I think I'm going to go to staff on that. So we've had a few comments regarding making it so that bots are kind of included in that, as well as that concern about where the information is stored. I don't want us to get too far into this can become quite a broad topic, right? So how are you feeling with the information that's coming from council? Would it be better to table this and go off and do some research, or?
I'm happy either way. If council does want to see more information or hear more, I'm very happy to get more information. I think with respect to the definition of AI, the definition that's included in the policy is means, systems, or technologies capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence, including generating content, analyzing information, recognizing patterns, or making recommendations. So I think there might be an aspect of, if this isn't amended in the next, 10 years, maybe that definition could become outdated. There is a requirement in this policy for this policy to be reviewed every 3 years. That might, I would hope, keep this definition relatively fresh. But also there is a structure that's included in here. There's a section about acceptable use and human oversight, which talks about, there's an encouragement that we're recommending to you folks to say for hiring, legal interpretation, bylaw enforcement, financial matters, public safety, processing of sensitive information, basically that, it's only the CAO that can, approve that kind of thing. Also for statutory stuff, use of AI tools must comply with FOI, Protection of Privacy Act, Community Charter, Local Government Act, Accessible EC Act, Human Rights Code, etc. So there's definitely some encouragements in there about legal compliance. There's also some data residency sections in here too, that basically there's an encouragement from council, or rather a direction from council to staff saying, if you do this, you must consider, like if you're considering using an AI tool, you should consider data ownership, data storage location, privacy protections, accessibility, vendor security, transparency, and contractual limitations on data use. So there are some data residency and FOI protections that if council were to adopt this today, would now be a requirement on staff to consider as it's using those tools going forward. But if you folks want info on particulars or on the present, what the status quo is presently, and that would improve the comfort level as you approve the policy, then I'm all ears. Very happy to do research.
Councilor Little?
I guess the other thing in there too is thank you for addressing all those concerns because I'm bringing that up. I guess the other one is and it might sound kind of funny, but even something as simple as our photos, right?
What's that?
Is something as simple as our photos. Like we've had some photos that have been modified with AI, some cool little flyers and stuff, look really good, don't get me wrong. But the question is, at the end of the day, if we're using AI technology to even modify something as simple as a photo, at the end of the day, who owns that photo, right? If we're using it to modify documentation or write documentation, at the end of the day, who owns that, right? And I know, when it comes to academic stuff, they look at, you can get up to a 10% flagged as AI, which is human error, and it's not actually AI. But it raises the thing, if it does flag as AI and it's over a certain threshold, who owns that document? Does it belong to the village, or does it belong to ChatGPT or Amazon or whoever owns that AI technology? Because I know there has been issues in the past, with imagery, right, and that kind of stuff in particular, that there's been debate over who owns the image. The person that types everything into ChatGPT or the picture program to create the picture and uploads the initial picture, or the company that produces the final product, right? So that would be the other place where my concern would be, is that, and it sounds kind of funny, going to something as a picture, but at the same time, it opens that gateway that if they can have pictures, well, why not documents, right? So, and there's already been proven that, the picture does, in some cases, belong to the AI generated company, right? So.
Councilor Wall?
So myself personally, I use ChatGPT to format documents, to fix my spelling, to make things grammatically correct, because I seem to have quite an issue doing that on my own. And Councilor Woodall brought something up that, who owns it when you do that? So I'm curious how this policy, or future policies, it's not really a question or a comment, but how this policy or future policies, how it would deal with something like that for someone who just, uses it to double check things, or make a sentence a little bit more concise,
Okay. Councilor Ravel, we'll take one last question and comment, and then I'm going to kind of talk to the council.
Okay, So effectively right now, we don't have a policy, so it's kind of, it's free game right now. So this is trying to constrain it and make it reasonable and responsible, which is a good thing to do, as this is probably one of the most advanced tools that humanity's ever created. So I would like to point out, all of this is preventing risk, which I appreciate. However, the one risk I would like to point out is under 14, that sensitive information may only be processed using platforms that have undergone appropriate privacy, Obviously, the standard practice for any software program, any organization utilizes a variety, a litany of different softwares. And this is also a topic of discussion when cloud data storage came to be. And that's why my understanding is the federal policy or the federal laws on this are that the servers must be located within Canada. Anyways, I'd like to just point out number 14. I think we should be leery of inputting sensitive information into it. I understand that that's being a little open to future developments and whatnot. What I'd like to be very specific on is under 6B for inputs and outputs for the definition. I think just simply the term data should be entered into that. I'm proposing amendments, sorry. I'm so moved to propose the following amendments. So anyways, 6B.
6B would include data.
Just data, just keep it super vague
It
and
says
broad.
synthetic data.
Yeah, but synthetic data I assume is something that's been produced by that, because it's input in.
The list, just replace it with data.
No,
No, chuck
data,
data, just chuck data.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the definition is inputs and outputs. Technically, I'd say data as any input.
Okay.
Add data 6B. Under 8, I'm going to actually change, instead of must not replace human judgment, I believe we should amend it to say shall not. More firm legalese language. And the other piece too is add, but shall not replace human judgment. Management decisions, add in management decisions as delegated authority, professional reliance, statutory responsibilities, council authority.
So add in shall not and management decisions, okay?
Yeah, shall not instead of must, and then management decisions at 7. And then under 25, department managers and supervisors are responsible for ensuring staff awareness of and compliance with this policy. Then to add, including redacting sensitive information from inputs. Including redacting sensitive information from inputs.
Section you want, sorry?
On 25.
25.
I know that's extremely specific, but with information technology, it's a human factor. If that's emphasized to continue on with this policy, that department managers and supervisors, when they're reviewing this policy and saying, okay, that's us now earmarking that one of the most important things that we can do to safeguard the information is to have staff training and awareness about the redaction of sensitive information from inputs. That is probably our biggest critical piece that we should keep focused on. So therefore I propose these amendments.
Okay. Would you like to comment before I get that seconded? Like, is there something?
Whatever you want, yeah.
Well, if what you're about to say is going to change any of the amendments.
I'm not sure I understand what Councillor Rebel means on 25. You're saying, and educate on redaction?
It's because it's saying the responsibilities of the department managers, I'm making a reference back to 15, which users must take reasonable steps to redact sensitive information, so on and so forth. I'm simply just putting in so that as this policy is flipped through, let's say we're onboarding a new department manager, they're reviewing all the policies, that specific piece, in addition to the generality, is enunciated.
Okay, yeah, I got you. I understand now.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Wall, thank you. I'm fine with those. The only one I was worried about was 25, just because I'm not sure if that, like now we're talking about adding training in, and we're talking about, so that gets a little bit different, but I can imagine there is AI training tools out there, so.
So it would read fully, if I may read it fully. Department managers and supervisors are responsible for ensuring staff awareness of and compliance with this policy, including redacting sensitive information from inputs. It's just specificity, it's awareness. It doesn't force an obligation for training, although training is important.
Yeah.
It's simply earmarking for department managers and managers that oversee staff. This is something that you are responsible for ensuring your staff understand.
Okay.
It's a huge piece in this chain.
Okay, no, that makes far more sense. Councillor Woodall and then Councillor Wall.
So, I guess kind of building off what you're saying, Councilor Rebel, is it's great that we're talking about getting staff changed up, but I know myself personally when it comes to AI, I know it exists. I know it helps me with my spelling when I use it on my spell checker, and that's about the extent of my AI knowledge. I imagine Councillor Johnson's pretty close to the same boat as I am on it. So I think the other thing that might be the work into this, I don't know if it has to be part of this or just something to kind of keep on the back burner, is that some education to council as well on what AI technology is being utilized, say, within the village as we move forward, and how to better protect ourselves, because as you know, we get all kinds of scammer emails and that kind of stuff. And as we move more into this digital realm, right, to kind of save a tree or two, then we also need to look at council being educated on dangers of AI or the use of AI as well, and make sure council's aware of what tools are being utilized. So I don't know if it needs necessarily to be part of the policy, or if that could be something we look at with the council training that we do, or
maybe even just like a safe AI program that can be used. Like this is a safe and approved village.
something along those lines. This is protect council because, you know, in 6 months' time, we might not be sitting in these seats. We might have other people in here and they might have great understanding of AI, or you might have people that are like, it's a computer, it's a glorified doorstop. So,
Your Worship, the one, maybe this will jive, maybe this isn't exactly what you have in mind, but one way that we've approached it on the staff side is over the last few months, we've had a couple conversations at our weekly staff meetings about, okay, what are our AI use cases? You know, what's everybody, been, trying to, what's a unique value that folks have, realized out of AI recently? And it was, some examples are, I found it to superpower my Google search. It did amazing. It found a document for me instantly. And it was, there was no, chain.
That's what I use it for, yeah.
This is, very helpful that way.
I use it to identify plants in my garden.
Yeah, another wonderful use case, right? So I think the structure that I'm anticipating, I'm not sure whether it's a spreadsheet. It might be a spreadsheet for more riskier ones that probably require input of village information rather than generic, use cases. But I can see us developing something that, probably has some of those ones that may get close to, inputting or inferring, village information is probably ones where we can get a lot more cautious and a little bit more hesitant. But I think the education or, maybe proactive conversations with council, that would be great. Even if council wanted a brief presentation at a future meeting, from myself on, what kind of tools we have used and what we're using for. I would be happy to put something.
Because I know it would be nice to know what's being used, because I know we have ran into it before where, we've seen reports that have come that have been, definitely AI, and haven't necessarily been vetted properly. And, everyone's seen those type of documents that are floating around now.
Yeah.
Right? So even just making council aware that, hey, yeah, AI is being used and these are what we're doing with it. Just because at the end of the day, you guys could use nothing but AI in the office and you screw everything from 6 ways from Sunday. At the end of the day, we're the ones that have to stand up and say, well, actually, we set policy and we neglected to deal with this, right?
It's all okay. Yeah, that's right.
So, and I think it's just as much protection for staff as it is for council, so that, God forbid, in the future, if something happens, you're not sitting there going, well, I don't know, he did it, right? And
well, then, so there is a
Gentlemen,
section.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to get you to comment one last time. Councillor Wall has been waiting for quite some time. So
there is a broad section in here that tries to say, no matter what tools are deployed or what kind of use cases are embarked on, that human users, aka the staff, are still ultimately responsible for the products that they put out. So it's not any kind of, the use of this tool is not any kind of substitute for human judgment. If I present you guys with a bad bylaw that is legally defective because AI, gave me a dreadful provision that's included in it, then that's on me under this policy, right? And I think it would still be, even without the policy, it's
Councillor Wall, thank you so much for waiting so patiently, if you may.
That's okay. I'm usually the one making others wait, so it's all good. So Councilor Rabble, with your amendment to the policy there, I have a friendly amendment that I would like to propose, which is you say sensitive, so it removes, you can't put in sensitive information into the AI. I would like that to say sensitive, confidential, or in-camera information.
What number is that under?
14, I think he's.
Or 25.
Well, he's saying the sensitive information.
Well, what's the definition of sensitive?
I can't have my Zoom open and my agenda open at the same time on my
Oh.
phone, so.
So I think he's back on 14 where it's.
So are you on 14 where it says sensitive information may only be processed using approved platforms that have undergone appropriate privacy, security, records management, and procurement review?
Yeah, I think that's where your change was there, Councilor Rabble.
Please, Councilor Rattle.
My change was on 25 under responsibilities regarding department managers and supervisor responsibilities. The use of the term sensitive information can refer to the previously defined under 6C. Sensitive information means information classified as internal, confidential, restricted, or protected, including identifiable personal information or any information not intended for public release. My intent with the amendment specifying sensitive information is to then refer back to 6C as the definition.
So that includes in-camera information then as well.
It would include confidential, therefore, in CAM, yes.
That's a rule that we presently have without this framework, but yes,
Yeah.
we're not putting anything that has people's information.
Then I do not have an amendment.
Okay, perfect. All right.
One thing, that's it.
Okay, last one, Councilor Rattle.
Okay, so this is a great conversation to have, it's poignant. So we need to, I appreciate this policy, we need to be aware of the human factor. What we stuff into this thing can't be taken back and it could pop out on some other random end, on some other random user. It's kind of the thing. The integration of artificial intelligence will continue. It's going to be so seamless, you won't even know which part of it is and isn't. Right now, it's interfaces and chatbots and pieces that review things, but it's becoming something that it's already getting almost undetectable, but soon it will be integrated with the software itself and it will be indistinguishable. We can't truly defend against, oh, this program is safe and isn't safe and all that, and we'll try, legislation will always try. The two things that we can control is the human factor of what the hell goes into the thing, the inputs, and not replacing decisions. Management decisions, council decisions, anything that happens that's a decision about, this water turns off here and this and that still needs to be made by a human. We cannot let that go. And I understand that as the anticipated life of cyber luxury comes upon us, we gotta be careful not to relinquish our control over what the hell goes on. So, thank you.
One last comment?
Yeah, one last comment for staff. So with the policy, the way it is, it addresses everything we brought up for the most part. My question is if for some reason we were to go to like automated lawnmowers, right? Because they would fall under this policy as well, would they not? If a person, or if like say we put a Roomba in the, one of those new smart Roombas in the village office to clean the floor, wouldn't it not fall under the same technology?
Perhaps, yes. Based on this definition, replacing. Let's take a look again here. Wasn't necessarily developed with that in mind. Maintenance systems or technologies capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence, including generating content, analyzing information, recognizing patterns, making recommendations.
Because when it sweeps the floor or mows the lawn, it's recognizing patterns.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just being a bit of a,
Okay.
I'm just being.
So, gentlemen, how are we feeling? Are we thinking we're good to go ahead? Would you like to think about it? What are we?
I like it with the amendments.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah?
We should review this in a few years, okay? Like, we don't even know where this is gonna
There's
go.
a requirement in here for it to be reviewed periodically. And do you folks want me to come back with some of our use cases at a future meeting, like how we're using it internally?
It'd be nice, I think, when we have time just to get an update. Especially once if this policy passes, especially once you've had some time to actually implement the policy, like 2-3 months down the road, see how it's affecting, the policies in place.
Okay.
Give you guys a chance to kind of figure out what works on your end. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay. All right, well then I'm gonna call the question, then all those in favor of putting forward adopting the AI policy with the amendments? Okay, that is unanimous and carried. Wonderful, thank you very much, gentlemen. So, moving on.
That's supposed to be an easy breezy one.
Yeah, well, no,
That's an
no,
interesting one.
it was there was a pretty good conversation about it at the board table for the same reason, just because everybody's using it, and local government should definitely get something, because it is becoming more prominent, and right now, we're all using it under our own safeguards, but there's no actual,
It's an open secret.
it's an open, yeah, so.
Oh, next one is C7.
All right, so, the council discussed asset disposal. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Whittle. The reason why I would like to discuss this is there is a few things I'm unsure of if disposing of them at this point is a good idea. So that is the lawnmower, that is the sidewalk machine, that is the 2 ditch mowers, the sweeper boom, the sander. Those are all things that I'm like, okay, why are we getting?
Still have the tractors. These are
Yeah,
implements for
I could get some more information on why we're
This is
just,
on there as well,
yeah, why we're
because
just,
it's over 20 years old.
It's been replaced, yes, but
so, okay, so the trackless sidewalk machine, okay? That's over 20 years old, is it still functioning?
I'm texting Chad right now. I don't believe it's in a great condition.
Okay,
In terms of the mower, that's what I was anticipating being asked about. It doesn't return to neutral like it should, so when you let off the pedal, it keeps driving on its own. We tried to work a fix, but the last advice was to get a new transmission in it, so.
okay.
It's not very.
So that one is haunted and won't stop moving. Gotcha. The sidewalk machine is over 20 years old and we're having issues with it.
And we have replaced it as well.
And then these ditch mower attachments for the trackless, as well as the trackless sweeper, do they not attach to our current new one that we replaced?
No, I don't believe so.
So they don't fit,
Yeah, over 20 years they changed technology.
okay? And then, okay, so those were my like main asks for, do they not fit on the current one? If they don't, that makes sense. Our mower is haunted and our sidewalk machine is old. And all of these things, we still have them. These are the old ones that we're getting rid of.
that's correct.
Thank you. Councillor Wall. He's having a hard time getting off mute.
If you get a recess, I can get a better answer.
I'm no longer on mute.
Okay, there we go.
So I would prefer it if we didn't sell any of our speed bumps until we had a completed infrastructure master plan that includes permanent traffic calming measures in our residential neighborhoods. So I would like to motion that the village retain its speed bumps and remove them from the asset disposal list for now until this fall after there is an approved infrastructure master plan. So I'm not saying forever, I'm just saying for now.
Okay, all right. I know I've definitely looked at the speed bump thing. We've had the conversation about speed bumps. I would be interested in putting speed bumps in front of the school and, what's that?
You put an amendment up, that needs a second for discussion.
Oh, sorry, what was the amendment was to remove it
No, it sounds.
From the list.
from the list? Oh, okay, does anybody want to second that? Sorry.
Well, for discussion, yeah.
Okay, so it's
Well,
seconded by Councillor.
yeah, remove the speed bumps from the list for now. Was
Yeah.
my
I know, like, I think we currently have about like 60 to 80 of them. We have a lot. I think the village could easily keep about 20 and be just fine. But my worry, I guess, is because we have so many of them, like we are talking 60 to 80 speed bumps, is the storage. Well, we have so many because the whole town used to be covered in them, remember?
It used to be in every.
It used to be every street, yeah. So I understand you not wanting to get rid of the majority of them. Even if we got rid of half of them, we would still have about 40 speed bumps for a town of 800 people.
Every 10 people
Sure.
on the speed bump.
What if we keep half?
Yeah,
I
right?
don't
Like
wanna-
I'm
I don't
fine
wanna
with
get rid of
keeping
most until
keeping half,
after.
but I'm not fine with keeping all 80 of them. It is
Yeah.
a bit much.
Well, then I will amend my motion or change it or whatever. No one seconded anyways.
Councillor Wall, just so you know, it already says partial disposal, which would include anywhere from 20, 30, 40% of them
Yeah.
already in
Yeah, it
order
doesn't say
of
fully disclosed.
So if you want, you can retract your amendment, and we'll just make a
Yes.
comment that we would like to keep half of them.
Yeah, so I'll just change it to be that the village retain half of its speed bumps for now until this fall after there's an approved infrastructure master plan.
Okay,
Or we just
Councillor
use it.
Ravel, are you still comfortable seconding them?
I don't, the speed bump thing is a whole nother conversation. I'd like to actually talk high level, so I apologize, I didn't mean to interject in the midst of the speed bump discussion. I think we should have some speed bumps, but there were some issues with it, you know, with the holes in the street causing freezing thawing cycle issues in the street. And I think speed bumps are good for slowing folks down because they're blasting through the place. But the other thing too is we've ended up with these really large roadways that basically ask you to go fast. So, you know, traffic calming measures I think are valuable long term. Speed bumps are an intermediary solution. We should probably retain them. My actual thing that I'm thinking is, okay, I know some of these items, I don't know all of them, but basically what I'm asking is, okay, so Public Works is coming to us because we have to all agree to dispose of it, right? So, are these all, okay, so some of this stuff's what, end of life, we don't need anymore?
Replaced.
Some of this has been replaced. Is there anything that's really sticking that we might kick our, basically all I'm asking is, crap is not gonna get cheaper. Is there something that we need to hold on to that we might use again or keep for parts or whatever? I know that that's a bad, because, you know, I like to keep stuff in parts, but basically, where does it all sit, right? Because there's 11 items here, right?
Yeah.
How do we parcel that out? I don't want to get into the weeds of operations. Let's keep it high level. And the other piece to this is asset management. You know, how does this fit with our asset management plan?
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I got a point of order, everybody. So currently, I have a motion on the floor to remove speed bumps from this list entirely. I've had Councillor Wall ask to change it to making it so it only says half. Can I get a seconder, or are we still stuck with removing speed bumps from this list? That is currently the amendment that's on the floor. So are we keeping all the speed bumps?
It already says partial.
Yes, it doesn't
It says
matter.
partial.
He put an amendment on the floor to remove it. It was seconded.
Call the question.
So I can call the question on that, and you can vote. Okay, all those in favor of removing speed bumps from the list? All those opposed? Okay, so that then fails. Okay, so the partial for the 2/3 is still on there. Now, Mr. Malkinson, if you'd like to answer Mr.
Nope, I just want to correct my BS from earlier. The story on the track list, per your question, is that one just stops driving randomly and it has hydraulic pump issues. And yes, the new attachments do fit the new unit, but the new one came with attachments that were ordered to replace the old aged out attachments. And for Councillor Ravel's question, all of these items have been gradually replaced through our asset management plan. The 97, like the 2 pickup trucks most recently with your purchase of the 2 F-150s.
Councillor Wood?
Yeah, and I do believe, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Robinson, but yeah, this is part of the asset management plan. Most of this has already been replaced.
Yeah.
And to my understanding, this is just stuff that's already been replaced that's taking up space in our public works yard.
That's correct.
And I do believe our public works director is wanting to get that more cleaned up and organized and stuff now that we've had that expansion onto our public works yard. And now, like, especially with the projects that we're looking at doing in the future, it needs more space in this public works yard, and this stuff's been sitting there for a few years. Some of it, you know, almost, it's over 20 years old,
Yeah.
and it's been sitting there taking up space. And the other part of it too is most of these assets have been replaced, and selling them off for something, right? Release brings some money back into the village and stops, you know, gets these assets cleared completely off our books before they degrade even more and take up more space.
Councillor Wall?
I request clarification on the term partial disposal for old speed bumps.
Clarification?
On what, sir? Like on the
On the speed bumps, yeah.
partial.
What's partial disposal?
We cut them in half and get rid of one.
Oh, yes, that's right. Cut them down the side, yeah.
Cut them down the middle, long ways.
You get double the speed.
I'm thinking 1/2 to 2/3, something like that we'll get rid of. We do have a lot, and I know that there's a conversation lingering about potential reinstallation of a few. It's just there's a giant pile behind the shed. It's terrible. We're hoping to clear that pile up. That's the idea.
Yes, Councillor?
just thinking, and this is just a thought that hit me out of nowhere. We've got all those speed bumps, and Dawson Creek, like they built a bump track and stuff like that that the kids ride on. Could those speed bumps, like, you know, it's not really going to affect this motion, but just something to think of. Could those speed bumps be utilized on, say, a little dirt track or something, or over by the skating area for a future like bump track idea?
Potentially.
I'm just thinking out loud, like I'm not.
The old skate park ramps, like from before the skate park was done, that we're also proposing disposing. So yeah, there's.
But those are the old
potential
ones
use
that
there.
are.
Yeah, they are. They're busted out.
Just, I don't know, I was thinking out loud, because if we have 80 of the things, or 60 to 80 of them, it might be a way to utilize some of them even after we dispose of some.
Right.
All right.
That's a fair point.
I'd like to make the recommendation that the council approve the sale of the following equipment via a third-party auction provider. The 1997 Ford F-350, the 2012 Ram 1500, the 2006 Ride-On Lawnmower, the 2002 Trackless Sidewalk Machine, the Trackless Ditch Mower Attachment, Trackless Deck Mower Attachment, Trackless Sweeper Boom Attachment, Trackless 3-point Hitch Sander Attachment, the old skate park ramps, half of the old speed bumps, an old fuel tank with stand and containment tray. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councilor Johnston. Thank you. Any discussion regarding Mr. Malcolmson?
One other thing that's notable here, just so you folks don't think I'm being sly, your policy does state that you run a sealed bids process for disposal. We're kind of the opinion, again, when we get to this policy, we can bring this up to you, make a recommendation. We're recommending a process that's distinct from that, because we're not confident that that'll realize the full value on disposal of the assets themselves. So we've discussed with Weaver and I think a couple other auctioneers to see if we could just, pass it off.
Discussion regarding the recommendation on the floor. Councilor Whittle?
I guess it would be a review of the policy for that, but yeah, as long as it's a public auction, that's right. And it's public dispersal, and we make the appropriate notifications of who's selling it, what we've got for sale.
That's exactly it, and we felt that would honestly have a greater reach than ourselves holding an envelope at the office here, and just whoever hears about it will come in.
Well, it's staff capacity too.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Would these auctioneers be utilizing a sealed bid process?
No, in an auction, like a live auction.
Yeah, so people are bidding. How does it work to have us override the policy? Would it be a specific motion to override 5?
Authorizing a third party
You're
auction.
on, yeah, it's right in the motion.
To the policy.
Via a third-party auction provider.
Sorry, I'm not seeing that.
If you go back to your agenda.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad I mentioned it. I didn't want, that's exactly what I didn't want, is something you said realize later that it's like.
Okay, I'm gonna call the question then. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed?
Would you like your opposed noted?
Yes.
Opposed?
Would you like your opposed noted?
Yes.
Thank you.
Same.
Councilor Whittle?
Am I allowed to ask the members why they're opposed
No,
to?
you're not.
Same.
No, not during a live meeting, you're not. Okay, 9.4, Fire Hall feasibility engagement for discussion. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councilor Whittle. I read the options. I can honestly say I'm in favor of option 2. The reason I'm in favor of option 2, just so you all know, is because I think I would like to make it very clear in plain language and writing that we are not looking to build a new fire hall next week. We are looking into getting a feasibility study because it has been asked of us by the PRRD.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Have we been getting questions, Your Worship?
No, I just know that the last election, the fire hall was a massive talking point.
Yeah.
And we are coming up to another election again. And I don't want it to be misconstrued at any point in time by the public that this body is looking to build a new fire hall. We are not. This has been money that's been sort of given to us in a bear hug by the PRRD because they want this done. I appreciate that they understand that it would make it available so that we have this feasibility study done for grant procurement, and I get where they're coming from. But I think this body has made it very well known that our concern is asset management when it comes to a newer or larger fire hall. That fire hall was only built in 2009. And I want the language to be very plain. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I don't also want the entire focus of this upcoming election being on why we're a bunch of morons who are trying to spend a ton of money on a new fire hall. Yes.
So I guess the other question I got is with this feasibility study, just it's looking at the, if it's worth building a new building and everything else, because it does provide potentially better protection or more protection to the Area D and the residents of Pouce Coupe. Does it also look at what it would be to bring our current fire hall, up? Because I know one of the big concerns with this, and one of the things that kicked this off, is especially things like cancer and that kind of stuff, and the decontamination requirements that were putting up. And that was one of the things, it's not the only thing, but it was one of the things that kind of kicked off this conversation. On the fire chief's end of things, multiple conversations of the fact that the current hall does not meet the current standards, so it needs to upgrade. And I do believe that when we looked at the size of the facility, right, and the upgrades that are needed, that's where the idea of, adding on to that building or building another building adjacent to it came, and it was now we need to look at the feasibility study. So, there's a couple things I think that need to be clarified, that we're not looking at just expanding a fire hall for the sake of just expanding a fire hall, and asset management is a big thing for us. But what we do need to look at is the fact that we have volunteers under in there, and the fact that we run that fire department for right around that $300,000 a year mark, which is phenomenal compared to others, right? But we need to also keep in mind that we're not compromising the safety of our volunteers that are in there, right?
And that's why I think that information package.
I think the information package is good, but we need to look at it as not that no, we're not building this. It's no, we need to look at the whole region as a holistic level, right? And look at the community as a holistic level and see. And then the other one is come 2029, there'll be additional EDMA, emergency management stuff that needs to be implemented. And how does this hall potentially affect that? Because I know currently right now in Pouce Coupe, the only building in this town that has a standalone generator system in the case of an emergency is the fire hall, and the municipality is obligated under legislation to maintain services and provide services still during an emergency or during power outages, and we only have one building in the entire area. And currently that building does not have the capacity for us to, in the event of a power outage or an emergency, to run an EOC out of there, run the fire department out of there, or run or manage ESS stuff out of there, which will bring me to a motion I'm going to make later tonight. But it is, the feasibility stuff definitely has to be done, but we need to emphasize that it's not just a fire hall that we're potentially looking at. It's more of an emergency services building that could potentially deal with more than just, right? And that I think the public needs to understand, because there's a big disconnect between, it's just they want to expand the fire hall, or it's a bigger fire hall. It's not just a fire hall, right? It's providing training ground for our firefighters, right? So that they're properly trained, so that they're safer. It potentially opens up some training opportunities for the community and to better prepare and protect our community. So the feasibility study is definitely a good thing, right? And see where it sits and see what the public has to say. But I think when we communicate that letter out, we need to communicate that it's for more than just fire department, right? It doesn't matter what we end up warping it or what it may potentially warp into, whatever emergency services or organizations might utilize the old building, new building, depending on how it all shakes out. But the end goal for all of it is to improve the safety of the citizens of Pouce Coupe and the surrounding area, and look at the feasibility and the cost of that, because you can't, even though we know it's an issue, we have to still manage costs and assets. So I don't know, some way to bring it up to the public that that's kind of a balancing act that, the village and I imagine the regional district are both looking at with this project, right? It just happens to be under the guise or under the label of fire hall, right?
Yeah.
But fire hall nowadays, especially in modern emergencies, is encompassing of multiple hats, right? And multiple responsibilities, not just putting the wet stuff on the red stuff and going home and having a beer. So.
Okay.
Suggestion, should we present this as fire hall and emergency preparedness feasibility engagement. Maybe we expand the terminology here.
Yeah,
We could throw that, just throwing that out there. I do have some other bits, but just throwing that out the floor.
yeah, well, with the information package, we could definitely build it and then bring it back, right, and start tweaking on it. Okay, Councilor Rebel?
Just to take a step back, so engagement study, consultant firm, we've hit a point where we need some public input, which is good. But this isn't the final stages. There will be plenty of other opportunities for public input where we could have open houses and such and the like, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes?
Thank you, Your Worship. There's a few different things. So the wind up on this, as I understand, goes back some time, like to 2021. I think there was that study that was done, maybe, was received uniquely in the context of the 22 election. I think there were some recommendations that came out of the fire services review at that time that drove a little bit of conversation about the physical site. Decon, another relevant point, at least anticipated fire underwriters like standards or fire protection standards with respect to decontamination have increased over the last few years. There's some measures that the village could take to make sure that their firefighters are as safe as possible. Monetary benefits, so there's some opportunities for partnership with other emergency service providers that's been identified in this context, and that's been a part of the review or discussions that have been happening adjunct to the review of the site feasibility study. ESS EOC Center, that was previously in Council Strategic Plan. I know that's been a moving target a little bit over the last little while, but that's something that was previously important context for conversations around the redevelopment of the site. And engagement with the RD, of course, their funding being a pretty important piece that help move this along and we enhance service opportunities. So that led to the design of the engagement itself, or the feasibility itself, and the options that are identified, like the three key options that the consultant was tasked with, were the renovation of the existing facility. Maybe there's a way that fire hall can maintain compliance, recognizing changing decon, changing structural requirements, some of the moving targets like leases and ESS partnerships, etc. But that's basically the idea would be that the site as it exists could be reviewed to see what could be done to bring it up to that standard. Expansion of the existing facility could be reviewed and could inform the and could determine the adequacy with those factors. And then option 3, which is new construction on the site adjacent to it, was also identified as well. So the consultant basically has been tasked with look at all 3 of these options, see what the compliance obligations are, see what the opportunities are, see what council's political needs are, include like in that report that you folks saw a little while back about the feasibility study itself, and offer some life cycle costs. What would the total asset management obligations be over the 20-year or 25-year horizon, I think is what they've been asked to forecast, and come up with costs for each option as well, so that the council can see what they're figuring.
Yeah, sorry.
No. So that it's all good. So once we're getting pretty darn close, we feel, to the end of the feasibility study process, like the engagement here, and we have seen a draft of the report. We do not want to presume that we have all the answers, or that we don't want to present it to council without feeling like there has been at least consultation to the public, to let the public know that, hey, there is a discussion going on about the future of emergency services in Moose, and this is an important context or an important beat that the residents should at least be informed of. But also there's an opportunity here for folks to provide their feedback as well. Hey, when I was on the department 15 years ago, this is something I saw, maybe you can consider that. So those are some of the things that we're hoping to incorporate.
I definitely like the idea of option 2 with the brochure and the information package, and having 2 different ways for them to put in public comment. One through either entering it like a QR code that they can scan and that sends directly, or for those who don't want to use technology having a mail-out card that goes with it as well that they can just return.
Yeah.
I think that would give us a better turnout than a public open house would. Those are never successful here.
We had 3 at the last, people that only wanted to do first.
And I think direct staff report back on engagement methods. I think honestly, mail-outs and information packages tend to work out. Like we didn't have really anybody show up to our budget consultation, but everybody received a copy of that, and we received nothing but positive feedback from it.
Right.
So that's proven to me that the community does better when we give them things on their own time and then allow comment after.
That suits just fine. And just to round it out, once if that is your council's preferred option, the idea would be that we would send that out with a deadline, provide a summary of that engagement to council once that's done, along with the draft, feasibility study to see what council likes. And then, of course, we proceed to design, and then hopefully we're ready to, go for grants if the right grant comes up, for whatever option council decides.
Yes, Councilor Rebel.
Yeah, and I'll be direct with my questions. There are opportunities for future public engagement. This is simply the start of the process, correct?
Well, no, so this is basically the wrap up. So the feasibility study is being completed. It's now reached the public engagement conversation. And so they would create an information package based off of what's been done with the feasibility study, give that information to the public and give them the opportunity to inform us on what they want.
What I mean is, before a fireball changes whatsoever,
Oh, yes.
people will have other opportunities to comment.
Absolutely.
This is purely to have this grant ready so that we can actually move forward.
Well, moreover, this is purely to inform the feasibility study development. This is to keep the public in the know that, hey, this is something that's being looked at. Yeah. So then, if we get to the design part of the process, or council makes a decision on, whether it wants just to reconfigure the existing, to do an addition, to do a new building, or to do nothing, you guys can, you can do further engagement at that point as well.
And then option 2, brochure information package meets our legislative requirements, the feasibility study requirements, and the potential for future grant application requirements. This is kind of my question. Like, it keeps us open. Our options are open still with pursuing this.
No relevant statute to cite here. This is technically a discretionary thing. It's prudent in the circumstances, given how contorted of a project it is. But there's no relevant legal requirements that you're running up against here.
Okay.
It would be an RD process.
Any other questions? So the recommendation on the floor is that we go with option 2. So any other questions regarding option 2? I'm gonna call the question, then all those in favor? Okay, any opposed? No. All right, moving on to McNabb Park maintenance scenarios, 9.6.
The council receives the report titled Iron Wolf Athletics Society Request for Waiver of User Fees at McNabb Park for information and direct opinion as identified in this report.
Okay, a seconder.
Or options, or direct options.
Seconded by Councillor Johnston, thank you. Councillor Whittle.
Alrighty, so I'm just looking at the breakdown here, like with the Iron Wolf, and they do state that they do maintenance into the park and they bring economic benefit to the community, which nobody's disputing. When I come down though, when I look at the rough expense schedule that's attached to it for maintenance for part of the 5 months. A couple things I see on here. Just for clarification, the weed whacking that Iron Wolf takes care of, that's the infield, or is that like everything that they do per week?
Immediately, Your Worship, I did try to write a number of caveats into this thing where I'm like, not a one-to-one.
Yeah, I understand.
I know you're not going down that path. No, it's not my understanding that Iron Wolf goes much broader than
Okay. Because I just see that, like on here you have it that they're doing it weekly, which, they're prepping for their games and that kind of stuff. But then the village is doing it bi-weekly, so does that mean 1 week that it's getting cut twice?
So no, through Your Worship, no it doesn't. The scenario is basically, there would be, there's activities that are undertaken by the village, and there's activities that are undertaken by Iron Wolf that are interrelated. scenario where the village is, you know, up and at it, or in the scenario where Iron Wolf is having a tournament and they really need to, you know, keep things trim, and they'll undertake and go through that, then the village isn't gonna bear that cost for that particular week, right? So these are just scenarios where, okay, what would the village's standard, you know, kind of be to maintain the ball diamonds if Iron Wolf didn't exist? And hey, the conversation with Iron Wolf is different, where it's, hey, what are the things that you could see yourself theoretically doing? So it is not the case presently that Iron Wolf is spending $200 per week, you know, total $4,000 per year just on weed whacking and field maintenance, fence repairs. And similarly, it's probably also not the case that we're $180 per bi-weekly. This is just it's a
Rough estimate.
very rough, yeah.
Okay. The other question I got with this too is if, you know, and this might be getting into the weeds a little bit, but if they're doing maintenance on it, which is great that they're maintaining and user maintained, it would be great if we could shift that to more of a user maintained model, which would be great, and it'd be worth waiving the fees for that user maintained model. How does that work with our public works staff? Because I know we have other agreements in place and stuff like that, where, you know, we don't want to be seen that we're reducing the work for our public staff, like our public work staff, even though like there's plenty for them to do within the village. But I don't want I just want to know it's not going to put us in a sticky situation because we're allowing users to maintain the field, that it could potentially get a grievance against us or ruffle some feathers because somebody gets a bee in their bonnet and they think that it's taking away work from somebody in the village when really it's allowing them to focus on other more important aspects.
It's an excellent question. It's slightly HR oriented.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah. I might be smartest to reply in camera, but
Okay.
in a general sense, we definitely respect our relationship with QP, and you know, most of the items that are identified in this expense scenario here are intended to be largely in the realm of value adds that Iron Wolf is endeavoring towards. Well, you know, Iron Wolf might not see it the same way either, right? In some cases, there's been a scenario where they've been, you know, village has been behind one form or another, and you know, they brought things up to snuff, you know, to make sure that the tournament standards or the game standards that they have are met. So I'm not trying to be any kind of a negative Nancy, but in a general sense, you know, our inclination is that a lot of the items that are included in this expense scenario, or the items that are reflected in that scenario, largely constitute a value add for Iron Wolf to meet the standards that they want to keep the ball diamonds to.
So I guess my other question for you is,
Not to say they've done an amazing job.
yeah, because a big thing for us this year, like, is our asset management, and at the very least, cost recovery, right? And that was my concern in the last meeting too with Iron Wolf, was the least cost recovery, and I really appreciate you putting these numbers together and bringing this back, because to me, this looks like, you know, with the value added that they're bringing to it, it definitely works, and it works in our favor, and it actually would be worth it for us to look at waiving their user fees, because with the value added that they bring to the table, it actually offsets what we look at potential revenue or, you know, costs on our end. So it kind of, that added value does offset the cost a bit. So really, if it's a matter of maintaining user fees from them every time or going into this agreement, you know, roughly looks better. Like, actually not roughly, it does look better, and looks like it's a better fit for both us and Iron Wolf. And I really appreciate seeing the value that they bring to the community. And I don't want to come across as that I'm trying to bash Iron Wolf or have anything against them. I think it's phenomenal, and it's great that TJ's done and brought into town. But at the end of the day, the legal responsibility is to what's best for the village. And this at least shows that we're at least getting pretty close to the cost recovery, and it's not necessarily costing us if we bring into effect what they're bringing for added value.
Maybe I read these numbers different than you did, Councillor Woodall, and then maybe Mr. Malkinson can add some backup. When I looked at the numbers that were provided by Iron Wolf, they seem a bit out there. Yeah, gonna be honest, nothing against Iron Wolf. I understand the need that nonprofits, you know what, sometimes you kind of need to shoot a bit over because your money is never guaranteed, and I understand that. But a lot of the stuff I was looking at, like when it comes to weed spraying. So he's doing weed spraying. He's saying it's $600 per year to spray the weeds. Okay, we don't do any weed spraying out there at all then?
No, not in recent years, no.
Okay, so he does weed spraying to keep the sand and stuff good. So then league admin, well, that's not something that would be on us anyway, because we wouldn't be running a league, so I never counted that on there.
Very fair.
Diamond prep and line painting, again, I'm saying $1,000 per year. So I kind of lumped that in with the infield top up, which is normally that mow and where they scrape up the dirt and the sand and stuff, and that's Iron Wolf definitely wanting it to keep it to its league expectations.
I think that's adding dirt, yes.
Yeah, so that's them adding in soil and stuff as well. So his numbers of 9,300, I'm gonna be honest with you, I assume that they were kind of closer to our numbers in all honesty when I was really thinking about it.
My apologies, Your Worship, we did collaborate with Iron Wolf on this.
Okay.
Like I did, who is it, Mr. TJ and I, we went up to Ball Diamonds, what about this, what about that, what about this? I got his thoughts. I didn't really try to censor, any of the costs that Iron Wolf identified. And it's kind of not report to write, because it's like, I'm employed by council, obviously, but I also don't want to be seen to be gagging a partner of ours, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
we're
And I guess like my concern with that then is like we're working with them through the MOU to try to get both of the ball diamonds replaced, right? We're doing one with the expectation that they fundraise or they work with our grant writer to help us get the second one built through their nonprofit status. So it's sort of like, you're doing some work, we're doing some work, we're trying to make it work. I guess my concern is that, okay, if we waive the fees for this year, I'm gonna be devil's advocate, and we end up paying for both of the ball diamonds to be fixed, I will not be waiving the fees next year, if I have that option. Because I understand that you're trying to fundraise and get money for the baseball diamonds, and if you can get for the dugouts, and if you can get that, that's fantastic. We provided a grant writer, we've provided opportunities, we allow advertised signage on the fences, doing all these different things to support you, with the expectation that if we're not charging you any fees, it's because we're partnering on something. But if the community and the taxpayer is still the one bearing the load the whole time, then it's not a partnership. So that's my 2 cents, and that's what I'm putting out.
So 2 things on that. Now, so one, looking at their individual numbers, right? When they lump it all together for 5 months, it looks like a much bigger number. But if you look actually at the individual numbers, $200 to have a company come in and weed whack around all the fields inside and outside. If you look at just sheer labor costs nowadays, that's not out to whack, right? I do contracting work, right? Looking at the individual numbers for their services, they're not really that out for lunch. Like I've seen, especially this last few months, we've seen drastic increases in everything, right? So the numbers I don't find too out to whack, but I do agree that, we want to see the value that's coming, right, if we're waiving fees. Would it be something, and this is just thinking out loud, I'm just putting it out there, would it be something for this year if we said, okay, this year we're going to waive the fees, but we want to see your receipts and actual numbers or the money reinvested back into the field. So I don't care if, say they hire a company and the company donates it, that's fine. The company can still produce an invoice, or they can still produce an invoice saying that it was a cost of this, but it was an in-kind donation, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This was the cost. And if we get actual numbers, or if they have them from previous years, but I'd like to say this year we look at waiving their fees like they've asked. But for next year, when we look at this, or council looks at this again, is sit down and look at the actual numbers, and let's make sure that the perceived value that they're bringing to the community, which, this form looks like this is the perceived value that they're bringing to the community, which is higher than what we collect in fees that we just turn around and dump back into it anyway. But make sure that it's actually hitting that threshold, and that it's protecting, that it's protecting Iron Wolf, because, I drove by this weekend, they had their all-wood bat tournament, it was busy, there's people around town, it was great to see people out there and enjoy the weather, and we've seen Mr. Misey's organization grow over the last 5 years with being within Pouce Coupe, or 6 years now, actually, 5-6 years now that he's been trying to do stuff at Pouce and working with us.
I think that's
So
a fantastic way.
I'd like to see, just for accountability wise, I would like to see their actual numbers that they put back into the field, like actual numbers. So not just speculation and say, oh, well, I think we spend this much and I think we spend this much.
Yeah.
You know, as much as, you know,
Actual.
I like Mr. Misey and I've known Mr.
Yeah.
Misey for 30 some odd years. And, you know, his numbers are probably fairly accurate, right? I'm not questioning his integrity. But at the end of the day, again, our financial responsibility isn't to Mr. Misey and Iron Wolf. It's to the taxpayer, and cost recovery is a big thing. But again, looking at these numbers, we're getting value added service. So I would
Like to see that.
like to see that. So what I would
Yes.
venture to put a recommendation out saying that we waive the fees for Iron Wolf this year, with the understanding that going into the 2026, 2027 season, or I guess 2027 season, 2028 season, but next season, that they bring back their actuals
Statements.
to show the value that they've brought into it. And we might look, and it might well
I'll
exceed
second
this
that.
number, right? It very well might exceed the number that we have here, especially if they get some good grants or they
Yeah.
get some, you know, stuff moving on their end.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I like it.
If you folks, I think that's, you know, a perfectly legitimate or defensible way to proceed, your worship. If you folks do want that, I'm wondering if you want to maybe authorize me to amend the MOU to that effect, because be a wonderful one-liner to put in the existing MOU that we have with Iron Wolf, to basically say, you know, show us your actual statements of time invested.
Why don't we make that a second recommendation? We'll go through this one, and then we'll put that on the floor to have that amended within the MOU.
Since the relationship is growing, your worship, like it's, I think there's been good investment on either side out there, and you know, you folks have put a number of dollars on the table this year for your financial plan, so be a good next step.
Councillor Rattle.
If I may credit to the herd of it, the taxpayer, somebody's got to pay for it, right? I personally am leaning, as much as I do appreciate nonprofits and other folks doing work in the village, contributing to the village, because we are all villagers, we all build this village together so that we have a good place to live. I am leaning towards no fee waiver, because I believe that truly we should be, and I agree with some of what members opposite were discussing, fundamentally, the taxpayers have subsidized the construction of these facilities. We have all kinds of nonprofits and other groups that utilize all kinds of things. We might have a group of folks that have children that go to the playground and pick up garbage, right? We're not, like, I don't mean to compare apples to oranges. What I'm getting at is, we have some folks that, say in Goose Park, set up some equipment and have maintained that equipment, but they've never asked for anything in return. You know, the reason why we have the bylaw is so that it's fair, that there is a cost recovery and future investment built into those costs, so that we can maintain these taxpayer subsidized facilities. And I would love to see, and trust me, I'd love to see every booking and every space filled. And I understand absolutely, very intimately, the costs associated with running nonprofits and the burdens that they face. Trust me, everyone's got tight pockets right now. But fundamentally, I think keep it even keel, keep as much as the same. If it's an issue with we're charging too much for our facilities and nobody wants to rent them because they're too damn expensive or they're not up to par, then we should visit it through that lens, right? That we look holistically over the whole bloody thing. And I appreciate that folks put in investment into this infrastructure. We need the capital to build this infrastructure to be better. You know, that's a tragedy. If you don't have a great hotel to rent, I think you gotta start getting cash flow so that you end up with renovating the bloody thing, you know, removing the old carpets and so on. What I'm getting at is, I think honestly, keep it simple. If we're to follow the bylaw, if the bylaw needs revision, then go for it, because there's a lot of other folks that do a lot of other things, they ask for nothing. If we're gonna proceed with an MOU, maybe we have a conversation and figure it out there and see about this, you know, what that relationship looks like moving forward.
Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Little.
Yeah, coming back to Councilor Rattle's point, so again, with the user fees, right, that we're looking at waiving potentially $4,000 worth of user fees, right? The alternative is, and they're looking at potentially investing $9,300 back into the field. And with my math, if we waive that $4,000 fees, that puts us essentially $5,000, because if we didn't have, then we get $4,000 from them for renting the field. Now those, a number of those costs, right, maybe not all those costs, but a number of those costs would transfer back to us, because now would be an expectation that if we're charging, you know, full rate for those fields, that we maintain them to a certain standard, right? We don't have the staff time to do it right now with staff allocation. And also then the extra value. So at the end of it, I see this as potentially, and this is why I want to see the numbers come back, right? So I see it as, with the current numbers that we have, and I know they're not exact numbers, but that's a potentially a $5,000 difference on our benefit, right? So it's one of those things that, hey, you know, you give us $4,000, but we're going to absorb this $9,000 worth of maintenance, essentially, is what we're looking at, right? Where we waive the $4,000, they put in the $9,000 of the work, we're still coming up essentially $5,000 in the black that we didn't have to put back into that facility.
The operating side, yes, you do have 20K for the dugouts this year as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, and that's grant funded.
But-
FSA has been upgrading the fields that weren't up to par.
As I said,
So-
I'm interested in waiving for this year, and I'd like to see the actuals.
So like, I agree with you that we do need to look at, or, you know, we do need to recover from stuff, but we've waived for nonprofit organizations, and for organizations, we've waived the community hall fees. I believe the disc golf guys have utilized the park, and we've waived those fees for them occasionally when they've come and asked for, because the only time we've actually charged them is when they wanted to actually shut down the park for a private event. Then they came and they paid fees because they closed it completely for private event, right? So, last week I was 100% with you, like cost recovery, but now that, you know, we've got these numbers, in my mind, like operationally, this still puts us in the black for $5,000, right? Which, you know, if we were to maintain the same standard that they want. But it's one of those things that we've been working with Mr. Misey as well for years, and the MOU process and the scheduling process is not slowly, but it's improved each year, and that working relationships become better, right? So I think this is just kind of a next step. And if we find that next year, like whoever's sitting in these seats or staff find that next year that, hey, yeah, no, it wasn't a value added, that no, it actually did cost us more, and we have the real numbers, then we have that to back it up. It would be my only concern on that, so. But I do agree with you that we do, cost recovery is key, right, on all of our facilities.
Okay, I'm gonna call the question then. All those in favor of waiving this year's fees with, the request that we get the actuals for numbers spent for this fall season? All those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed.
Would you like opposed noted?
Yes.
Okay. James is good? Okay.
I was in favor, yes.
Okay, just double checking. All right, I'd like to put the recommendation on the floor that staff amend the MOU to add in the yearly actuals from the previous season to be presented each year as well. So, seconded by Councillor Whittle, thank you. Discussion?
I don't intend a point of order, but I'm just curious as to the language, the wording in the MOU.
They'll bring it back.
Probably consult and,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't want to unilaterally amend an agreement, right?
No, they'll work on it, and then they'll bring it back, and then we'll look at it, and then we'll all agree on it, or not agree, whichever, and then it will go back out in front of Mr. Misey. Okay? All those in favor?
I'm for transparent accounting.
Okay. All right, any opposed? None at this time? Okay, awesome. Moving on to
Just, Mr. Malkinson, just for like first financials, just so that there's no, I guess, confusion. We're not looking for the organization's financials, right? We're looking at the financials of what they've spent on
what they
our
spent on the
infrastructure.
community. Yeah.
Right, so like, we don't want to audit their books or make them
No.
public or anything else. We just want to know what they spent on our infrastructure.
And you folks are, yeah, you're looking at operating and other, you know, repair and maintenance stuff that they're doing at those two particular sites.
Yeah.
The sites that they're asking to have the fees waived from.
That's right.
That's right. Okay, moving on to correspondence. We are going to go through each of these this time, just because there's quite a few that I'm assuming this council would like to talk about. So, I'd like to put on the floor that council consider the UBCM convention meeting request and to direct staff to arrange meeting requests for discussion. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Whittle. I have 3 that I think would be really great. I think we should meet with the Minister of Infrastructure regarding, the sloughing that's happening over in Bassett. I think that would be a really good conversation.
It's a hill on a creek side that's been sloughing for thousands of years, and it'll continue sloughing for thousands of years. That'd be $5,000, please.
Yeah, no, so what my concern is that, we can't afford to fix it. We're like, we need support from the ministry, and I think even if they were just willing to help us figure out what the plan is and work with us in the PRD, because it's not just us, it's the PRD as well, I think it would be beneficial to the community.
I think, Your Worship, that would be a good one to discuss in camera. Would be,
Okay.
yeah.
Sounds good. And then I was thinking, which ministry is it that deals with PST? The new PST thing on capital?
Probably finance.
Is that finance?
Finance, yeah.
I think that would be a good one. And then the Ministry of Highways and Transportation regarding the Blicky Lake, because we just need to keep funding them.
And Taylor Bridge.
Yeah. So those are my three.
If we don't get in with the ministry, I know a counselor that's really good at sniffing out politicians.
Yeah,
We'll
like
send
a
them
hound
to go-
dog.
We'll send them to go hound dog.
So those are my three potentials. We can talk about the other one a little bit further in closed.
Do we need to go
I think
back-
those are great suggestions.
Thank you.
Do we need to go back to emergency management and get referred to more grants?
Yeah, what the heck?
The EGMA thing, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. They just handed me a piece of paper we could have printed off the office.
Yeah.
Should we maybe tag team with the RD and Dawson and so forth for health, Ministry of Health? It's always a good one.
That is generally a good one. That might be
Just throwing it out there, like a wet fish.
like a wet fish. There is a lot of things going on. We are actually assigners of the Accord, and I know the city of Dawson Creek has put forward a letter regarding mental health support. So if that is something that you would like to go in and just talk as, you know, a community in the northern region that's being affected, then yeah, the Minister of Health would probably be a good one as well. Councillor Whittle, Councillor Wall?
So when it comes to the Minister of Emergency Management and the Minister of Health, I mean, we've had enough conversations with them at this point that it seems like they just don't listen or care, quite frankly. So I think our time would be better spent elsewhere, because it appears, 3 years in a row we've spoken to them and it doesn't. Basically, here's a list of pamphlets about things that you can do, or this is what Vancouver is doing with their, $200 million. Things like that. They have not seemed to me very, what's the word I'm looking for? Receptive to small communities or to their roles previously. So I think going for transportation, for
Infrastructure.
infrastructure, that sort of stuff, I think we've had success in the past and they take their job seriously. So I think we might have better luck meeting with them.
Okay, Councillor Whittle?
What about meeting with the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, because it's their office that's spearheading the potential changes to the code of conduct for the province? Because then you get right into the minister and actually voice your concerns directly to the minister.
Would not be like municipal affairs.
I think that was it Housing or Municipal Affairs that was bringing
For a
that?
while they were together, but
Yeah.
it would be municipal affairs.
Yeah, whatever, however they're
And
splitting up.
now it's municipal affairs and housing.
But I think whoever is bringing forward the
I
amendments.
can already tell you what they're gonna say. They're
Yeah.
gonna say, we haven't even spoken about it yet, so don't worry about it.
But the thing is, though, just like with Mr. Neufeld tonight, getting on that ground and saying, hey, these are some of the concerns we have. And this is September, right? This is still, and like Mr. Neufeld said, you never know with the friggin' NDP what's gonna happen next. And so I don't know, it'd just be a fourth one to stick on there, or, because there's no guarantee we're gonna get them. And it might be something that we could get in there and, we can bribe them with cinnamon buns or.
Oh my
whatever
gosh,
to-
that's not funny.
Or whatever in order to, say, like, these are the concerns that we have as a small municipality, right? Because quite regularly, these ministers, they hear from big municipalities, but they don't hear from the small municipalities, right? And just saying the restaurant at the Legislative Assembly has really good cinnamon buns.
Anyway,
So.
I hate to say it, but Councillor Woodall he's on the money.
Yes.
MLGT, infrastructure, finance, housing, municipal affairs and housing, no to health, right?
I would say no to health. We have definitely gone multiple times and we get nowhere.
Well, we even ran into the CAO Northern Health last year at UBCM. We ran into him in the legislature and we had a conversation with them.
I believe you folks have a meeting with them scheduled with NCLGA or like the leadership.
Yeah, at NCLGA.
We are seeing Northern Health at
There's no
okay.
point, I don't think there's any point doubling up what we're gonna do at UBCM with NCLGA. We wanna spread out our advocacy as best we can and hit as many as we can.
We may not need a specific meeting with health. What I'm saying is we could tag team with the RD for health provisions in the north.
Well, I'm gonna be going to them.
Yeah, anyways, and this is all I'm saying. And then
Yeah.
also, later on, we're talking Boltry's house. That's probably something that other folks might also do.
Vulture House did get its funding pulled.
So we might not be the lead on that, but I'm saying
But next
we should
week we
keep
have
it open here.
meetings. Well, next week we have meetings with,
Yeah, we should bring up the
Ministers
Vulture
of-
House thing.
or with-
actually.
yeah.
Okay.
It's later on, Chris.
Yeah, no.
But what I'm saying is we should maybe just earmark health.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't hurt to put in multiple requests, and if we have to divide and conquer, we can,
Yeah.
and we're not, it's no guarantee we're gonna get everything we ask for, so
Yeah.
keep it on there as an alternative.
I really like the Vulture House thing, just because I was shocked when I heard that they've actually pulled their funding. I couldn't believe it, in all honesty, so I like that. Okay, yeah, so yeah, we got Minister of Infrastructure, Minister of Finance, Minister of Highways, Minister of Health for Vulture House, and then Minister of Municipal Affairs Code of Conduct. Can I get a seconder on booking those?
I'll second, but just for clarification, I think infrastructure and transport is together. Is it?
Are they together?
split off?
Pardon me, sorry?
Are infrastructure and transport together? They
Ministry
split.
of Transportation and Transit. I would find the
Yeah.
relevant ministry.
Yeah, no, it's
for,
split.
Oh, okay, we'll get it.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it's split,
It might,
because
it
it
might
put transportation and
be emergency
transit.
management, to be honest, but
Yeah.
I'll find the right information, the right ministry that topic fits under and go with that. Cool.
Alright, I'm gonna call the question then.
Just saying, it might be Modi as well.
Modi doesn't, it's now ministry.
Well, I guess 'cause it's not
of
affecting
Transportation
it,
and
Yeah.
Transit. It might be,
It might be environmental
We'll
too,
find it.
Yeah.
it might be.
depending what side of the road it's on.
I'm gonna call
Mayor,
the
I
question.
have one question.
Oh, yes.
So, since we're asking for quite a few meetings this time around, previously we've been in a situation where we've been double booked, where maybe the Minister of Infrastructure will book us in on Tuesday at 2 o'clock and, Health will be Tuesday at 2:15. Do we have enough people coming to UBCM that if there is a situation like that, where
We're all going.
Yeah, we're all going and
I've already booked the Airbnb, we're all
under
going.
our acting mayor schedule, I'm the acting mayor, so if Mayor Beach is during that time, so if Mayor Beach is incapacitated or caught up in other meetings, then we can kind of do what we did last time and we can
Mayor
tag team and
Beach
lead them.
spends all of UBCM running across the street repeatedly.
well, because we've done it before, where there's only been a few of us go and it's been
Nope.
rushed.
This year, it's all of us. We're all going down. We're gonna fight again like we did a
Yep.
couple years ago, and yeah, it'll be good. And I'm gonna be running around like a chicken like I
Just
did
saying,
last
if we're
time.
getting an Airbnb, I'm not.
Off we
sleeping
go.
in the closet this time.
Yeah, we'll stick these boys back in it.
Careful of throwing
So
Jeez, eh?
All right, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor? And that's unanimous and carried. Thank you. All right, moving on to the 10.3. So,
Or water scarcity, 10.2.
sorry, yes, 10.2, sorry, yeah. Preparing for water scarcity. I put the motion on the floor that we receive for information. Seconded by Councillor Will. I'm fine with receiving this one at this point for information. There will be a lot of conversations happening throughout this summer with the minister going forward. So, I'm watching Duncan talk to himself.
Trying to, I have a hard time reading sometimes, so.
Yeah.
Would it be something, I guess this is more of a question to staff, to you, would it be something to maybe look at, just a reminder to everybody, because I know they go every once in a while, but just a reminder to everybody, like, hey, we're coming into another year of really dry, not very wet. here are some things you can do
To save water.
to save water, like, you know, even simple things like myself this year, my garden, I changed my gardening setup. Instead of being an open field garden, I moved everything to boxes with targeted watering, so it only waters those boxes. I have no peripheral watering. You know, little things like that, creating shade, keeps moisture in the ground. So just putting out some tips and helpful hints.
Sadly, planting less flowers, that's what I'm doing.
Because the other thing too is I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's coming to City Hall Street, so we put it on water restrictions pretty quick.
They're on Stage Street presently.
Right, Vancouver's
We've
and
been issuing, yeah, since the state of emergency was removed in January, we're still at a fairly elevated conservation measure stage. And yeah, we've been discussing with a few folks that are even just trying to do simple landscaping jobs. So we've been closely reviewing permit applications for that kind of stuff even.
So are you putting a recommendation on the floor then that staff put a mail out reminding everybody about water?
Not necessarily. I'm just tacking on to something because mail outs cost us like $1,000 every time we do it, so I don't wanna spend more money unless we have to.
It doesn't cost us
I'm
$1,000.
gonna do it anyway.
And then the other thing I guess with that is, with the water stuff is, so yeah, there was just some educating of people and, I had another thought. I'll think of it at midnight and I'll email you.
Oh, how fun for you. Yes, Councillor Rebel?
I know this is an out there idea. Other communities have done kind of a gardens competition where when you know, you could do a walk the street thing where everyone, like we do the housing light competition, but basically like folks that demonstrate a reduction in water for their front yards, but they still look pretty. Like that's a whole idea that like Merritt and other folks have done down south. It's like a little competition.
That's where my question
You know,
is tied into that.
or I don't know, that property improvement revitalization tax credit. I don't know, if folks wanted to renovate their property, improve it, and put in desert plants and things that are water hardy, you know, that could be
Is
something.
that covered under that?
It's improved.
That's actually where
the
my-
land values that.
That was exactly where my question was gonna go, was actually, and that's what I brought, thank you for bringing up, is under that tax exemption that we looked at for people for beautifying their properties, that we did, could we tweak it or incentivize people that, you know, they include into it, because we are in the drought season. So if people are doing those property improvements and they're reducing their water need, their need for water or their water footprint, that should also qualify for the tax incentive, I think, because one, they've reduced their water need, which reduces the wear and tear on our infrastructure. And really the tax credit's like what, 3 to 5%, so it's fairly minimal, but at the same time, it at least gives some incentive to, like Councillor Rabel said, you know, go with a nice Arizona desert front lawn or Las Vegas style front lawns to reduce the amount of water that's needed.
So the question is, can we amend the revitalization tax exemption bylaw?
No.
I think you'd probably expose yourself to losing money, like it's kind of,
Yes.
like it's contrary to the financial risk projections that are worked into the bylaw, right? You might be better with an incentive or a grant, community-wide grant program or something.
Yeah, just like
Maybe
we,
it's a separate standalone.
well, like, we do it at Christmas, they get mud cash prizes, do the same thing.
Whoever has the ugliest lawn in Moose
Oh,
Oh my
County,
gosh.
it gets
Yes.
a rotten old pumpkin.
Councillor
Okay,
Rebel.
this is just throwing it out there, folks. The mechanism in the revitalization tax credit is BC assessment. So I wouldn't muck with that too much. But hypothetically, hear me out. If folks demonstrate a significant or proportional decrease in water consumption because of the implementation of various practices and so forth, what if there's some sort of incentive model that encourages that? Because, okay, sure, the incentive is you literally don't pay for the water you use. That's why I've always been in favor of having it from zero up. But what I'm getting at is, imagine you could do it through like a facade improvement grant, like where it's kind of that mechanism the municipality has to kind of subsidize folks to change over their yards, which is the whole thing. Or you do the prize model approach, where we kind of do the Christmas light up, except for front yard, desert up, or dry.
Gentlemen, I
front
think
yard
that
dry.
this is a fantastic conversation for when we're on a break. That you can iron out and you can bring back for later.
One last
Good
question on this.
spitballing.
Yes.
Just to stop, because currently our water model is we charge a flat rate. Do we not, like it's a flat rate, we don't actually go out and monitor every single residence, do we? And do a pay per use, because I know that was one thing that came back on our water survey that we did a while back, Because people want to pay for what they use, not a flat rate.
We have meters, we bill for use.
Yeah.
So we could track that water usage.
Yeah.
So if I, went away all summer long and it went really down, then, I could go up.
Is that
We
mine?
usually contact the inverse, like usually if we see some house that's, or house or
Spiking.
business that's way above average, they get the great honor of getting a call from the CAO asking them if they have
Maybe your
any,
swimming pool or.
yeah, your swimming pool, or hey, maybe your toilet's running, or hey, maybe your fire alarm, your fire meter, or your fire suppression system is running, like something like that. But yeah, it's that could be a fun contest too, right? We do have those data, so.
Okay, we call the question. All those in favor of receiving for information? Unanimous and carried. Thank you. Moving on to 10.3. That the city received the correspondence from the city of Prince George for the UBCM resolution regarding Northern Rural Homeowners Grant. Can I get a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Rabble. I was wondering if you would be interested. They are looking for co-sponsorship.
Yes.
It is
Yep.
late for co-sponsorship. Oh no, not for UBCM.
No, not for UBC.
No, so you guys are fine. So, if you would like to, I'm looking for that recommendation.
Yeah, so no, I was looking into this, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is where the provincial government said that they're going to do away with the Northern Rural
Yes.
Homeowners Grant, which I believe statistically, when I looked at it, it works out to, on average, for each household,
$200.
a minimum of $200 increase, not to mention whatever other municipal tax increases happen next year, federal or other provincial tax incentives. Just over and above any other tax increase next year, it's going to be hit with an additional $200.
Everyone in town is paying $200 more, that's correct.
Not every one of them.
Councillor Rabble?
I think we should co-sponsor.
Yes.
The point, the reason, my understanding of the homeowners grant was because of foreign buyers, and there wasn't a mechanism to explicitly disincentivize folks who don't live in Canada from purchasing properties. So I understand this was the mechanism the other way, to basically give back all BC residents that portion of additional tax that was tacked on so many years ago, and that, okay, sure, the carbon tax is now an industrial one versus right on a personal basis. It's still in our entire chain of transportation, still pay it. The point of having it as a slight subsidy to the folks that live outside of the Lower Mainland is because everything is further, we have fewer services, and everything is more bloody expensive to live out here. So they should decrease it, they should probably increase it. So actually, we should flip it the other way and say, but
So are you putting the recommendation on the floor that we co-sponsor?
yes.
Can I get that seconded by Councillor Whittle? Discussion on the co-sponsoring? All those in favor? That is unanimous and carried. I knew you were gonna want to, so it just, okay. Mooside, Councillor Whittle, that one's you.
Oh, jeez. I am totally unprepared for that. I looked at it and then it
I
was one of
literally
those.
emailed
I know you sent it to me, so I do believe in me. 1 second here. Let's see if I can pull this up. But yeah, the Moose High program.
It takes place tomorrow. It's
Oh,
on.
there we go. Hang on, I've got to pull it up here. It's buried in a stack of papers. Where's the correspondence? I was reading about another motion I was making.
Have we done 10.5 yet? Sorry?
No, we're on 10.4, the Moose High project. I'm just pulling up the,
Page 69, 68,
So if
I
you
got
look,
it.
it's the lighting.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Okay.
Alrighty, so nature of the cause. So the Moose Hide campaign is an Indigenous-led grassroots movement aimed at reconciling and ending gender-based violence in Canada. So May 14th, 2026, 2026, cultures and well, that's gender and standards. Alright, sorry. Solidarity against gender-based violence. The Moose High campaign gives Canadians who are looking to participate in the nation's journey of reconciliation and accessibility an important path forward. The Moose Hide campaign is represented by a simple square of moose hide worn on the lapel of many Canadians, actually. I have one on all my suits.
Yep.
To date, over 7 million moose hide pins have been handed out to eligible nonprofit groups and national awareness days. Yeah, so they're doing that. So what they're asking for from the village is they're asking that the lighting of the communities. So they are asking that the city to light significant landmarks or monuments, the color of the Moose Side campaign pin, which is gold or yellow, to raise awareness for solidarity. The lighting will help spread a powerful message that our communities have no space for gender-based violence, and that communities have been part of the Moose Side project and request lighting for May 14th, 2026.
So, Councillor Woodall,
So
are
I would
you
like
looking to
to-
make the recommend?
I'm getting there.
You're gonna forget part of it.
No, just shush.
Go.
Alright, so I'm gonna make the recommendation that the Village of Pooskoopi recognizes May 14th, 2026 as Moose Hide, as the Moose Hide campaign project, and that we turn our lights yellow, gold, whatever ones you can program in there, on all of our village assets that have the light up. Everything goes online, so.
Put it in.
And they didn't ask about online, they asked for us to do our lights, so that's what my request is. If you wanna make an amendment, you can.
Okay, can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Rabble. What I was thinking, sorry, Councillor, what I was thinking is that we would, along with many other communities, do the proclamation for May 14th, 2026 as Moose Hide Campaign Day. We would light up the community gold and yellow, or just yellow, as you had said, and that we would just put an awareness post out about it being Moose Hide Campaign Day.
So is that an amendment?
Yes, I'd like to make that friendly amendment.
I'll accept that friendly amendment.
You are so annoying.
Well, that's what happens when you cut me off when I was in the middle of something. You asked me to do it, and you sit there and either let me do it or do it yourself.
You know, this is what happens when you've known somebody since you were like 10. I know, honestly. It's okay, kids. Mom and Dad are just
But I'll accept your amendment, yes.
Thank you. Okay, any questions? Councillor Rebel, thank you for it's okay.
Any questions?
No, I'm good. Proclamation, lighting, and social media posts.
Yes.
Sounds like a good plan.
Thank you, that's all I was looking for. I'm gonna, I'll meet you
Why
in
don't
the
you do
alley.
it yourself?
Because you're the one who does the thing. You like to do
If you
things.
wanna screw in it, do it yourself.
Oh, shush. All right, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor? Okay, moving on to 10.5.
Oh, play well with others, okay?
I know. You've never
That, for 10.5, I apologize, that the mayor and council of Pooskoopi recognize the importance of affordable patient accommodation and accessing healthcare, and that the Ministry of Health continue to fully support the funding of Poultry's House operations.
Seconded by Councillor Woodall, thank you. And this is what we will be advocating for when we meet with, if and when we meet with the ministry. How
Why?
sad.
Just try to save the buck, I don't understand. People need this here.
Mayor, can I say something?
Yes, please, Councillor Wall.
I say some pretty bold things, but this might be the boldest. I'm disgusted that the province continues to, divert our hospitals, close them, and then decides they're going to pull funding for Boltrace House when there's hospitals in our region in Chetwynd and Fort St. John and Tumbler Ridge
And Fort
and
Nelson.
Dawson too. All on diversion. People have to come from all over the place to use our hospital, and then now they pull funding on a place for these patients and their families to stay. It's absolutely disgusting. I feel like we have to send a letter of support, and I don't know what other steps we can do. So my question through you to staff is, what other channels of advocacy can we go down to cause a stir in Victoria to show them their hypocrisy on this?
We're gonna cause a stir at UBCM and NCLJ like we always do.
Yeah, the minister doesn't listen. Like, there's got to be the minister. In my view, is she doesn't care, to be honest. But
I thought she was
it's
appreciating your wedding.
No.
Different one. Oh, sorry. Okay.
So, are there any alternative routes that don't? I'm sorry for putting you on the spot on this, Mr. Malkinson, but are there any alternative routes that we could take to turn the heat up, either locally or regionally or provincially, to make sure they know how dumb it is of them to continually divert our hospitals and then pull funding for the place that patients stay? when they're in a different community.
Yes, Mr. Robinson.
Through your worship, you could, like a few options that are coming to mind are external communications to other parties. You could probably get in touch with some of the folks that were proponents behind the Moultries House in the first place. I think Dale Bumstead and there's a number of folks involved in the organizing committee that actually saw the funding request that they secured go through. They might have some unique advice on how to reverse engineer the decline that was recently received. And I'm trying to think of what else.
This is going in front of the PRD board tomorrow as well, and they are not happy.
Is there a mechanism? Because in my view, the Ministry of Health is in breach of contract. I mean, they're taxing our local taxpayers for a hospital that was closed more often than it was open last year. And then they pull funding for the facility that's to house these people when they're out of town at a different facility. Like, is there a way to hold back funding or put their feet to the fire? Because at this point, it's theft, in my view, that they're taking the money and not doing anything with it.
I think that we would have better luck, this is going in front of the PRD board tomorrow, and I won't be surprised if they're quite choked as well. And I think that we would have a better footing if we joined forces with the PRD to demand that this funding be replaced. I just think.
Well, I agree that the funding needs to be replaced, but for the time being, when they're not doing it, I think it would be appropriate that we and the regional district withhold health funding until we have a hospital that's open or a place for people to stay when they're sick at a different facility, because they can't make us pay for a service they're not providing and have no intention on providing, which they've made very clear with this recent revelation.
Councillor Little?
I guess two things. One is, because, the Moultries House is great, it's within our region, but ultimately it's not in our community, it's in the city of Dawson Creek. So I do believe it should be the city of Dawson Creek or regional district taking the lead on this fight, and we can fully support them.
Yeah.
The other thing is when it comes to the discussion tomorrow at the RD table, if the discussion comes up of looking at funding it locally or funding it as an RD or municipal combination thing, right? It'd definitely be something that at least consider that, or at least see where that conversation goes. I know something like that, that's a whole mess on its own, but it's one of those things that is possible in the realm of doable. But I think us supporting the regional district, the city of Dawson Creek, on this is great. But I do believe it should be the city of Dawson Creek or the regional district that takes lead on the advocacy for this with us supporting it. One, they have the more staff time to devote to it, and the deeper pockets, and it directly affects, it does affect us as well, but it directly does affect Dawson Creek.
Well, and I can honestly tell you, I don't know how many PRD meetings you went to at UBCM last year, but when all of us enter the room and we all sit in front of the minister, they do tend to sweat a little, because we're all sitting there, we're all not happy. It's not a very smiling conversation. Generally, we go in and we have some pretty big demands, and we're all quite frustrated. So I do find that when it comes to big advocacy things like this, no different than when the Northwinds thing happened, when we back up the PRRD, we tend to get further results. Yes.
Yeah, we're a piece of this. My understanding is the village gave $10,000 several years ago to initiate the funding for the establishment of this facility. The RD's given a lot. I think a joint effort with the RD and the local and all the areas around us. Moultries House is a stopgap measure because we don't have adequate care in our communities. For goodness sakes, if they don't even want to fund these stopgaps, then what the hell will we have at the end of the day, is my honest opinion on this. I'm very disappointed. This is a grassroots thing that was done with an old doctor, former doctor who had passed away at his house. The community had initiated this and had brought this forward with some very dedicated folks. And I'm grateful for the funding that was provided in the past, but my goodness, to not continue with it is to take a system that's trying to make itself work and just absolutely beating it to the dust. I feel so horribly. I feel so bad for the folks in Tumler Ridge and Chatwin and Fort Nelson and so forth when they have to come here because this is where the medical services are and they're having to pay out of pocket. This is just hurting people more. This is an absurd thing. So anyways, I'll leave it there, but then very much in support of the funding being restored.
So I think, yeah, we will call all those in favor on the letter, and then I'll let you guys know the ERB favor those. All those in favor? Unanimous and carried. Wonderful, and I'll let you guys know how the conversation goes. Okay, moving on to resolutions, none, bylaws. Oh, recommend.
I would like to make a motion first, actually. It's a kind of an emergency one because of what they're doing. I would like to make a motion to condemn the Ministry of Healthcare. Seriously, it's unacceptable.
I know.
What they've been doing.
Yeah, hold off. Why don't you wait until I go to the RD table? We totally still have time. That's tomorrow. And then whatever, like, they're gonna do something, I can guarantee it. And then I can bring information back. I will bring forward how this council's feeling about it, how frustrated the whole thing is. And then if at our next council meeting you still feel like not enough is being done, then you can start putting forward some other things. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, all right, meet me in the middle. Okay, moving on to bylaws. The council adopt tax rate bylaw number 10912026. Can I get a seconder? Seconded. Councilor Wall. Did you sigh? Okay, any discussion? I hate these now. Okay, I'm gonna call the question then. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed?
Would you like your opposed noted?
Opposed.
Yes.
Would you like your opposed noted?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 12.2, that council give first, second, and third reading to the revitalization tax exemption program bylaw number 10872026. Can I get a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Rabble. You wish to do it. Councilor Whittle.
So, I guess to staff, with this tax exemption, the revitalization tax exemption, if somebody were to qualify for this, it's a maximum of 5% off, or what was the max number they qualify for?
No, it's potentially equal to their, I'm trying to remember here. So there's a minimum valuation change that's required in order for an exemption to take effect, which is 25,000, and it cannot exceed the total, like, the bylaw is only applicable in relation to the net increase.
Okay, so basically, you're taxed at, $1,000 now, and then you do a bunch of improvements, you bring up that value, you're still only taxed at this, we're not taxing on the improvements at this point in time, so we're offsetting the improvements on the tax
For the
revitalization.
first few years. Yeah.
That's right.
And it steps.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor? That's unanimous and carried.
Throw some water stuff in there.
Thank you. Okay. All right, moving on to item number 3, administration reports. I move that we accept 13.1 and 13.2 for information. Seconded by Councilor Whittle. Any discussion?
Well, I don't.
All those in favor? Unanimous and carried. Thank you. Moving on to reports. Okay, Councilor Johnston, what you been up to?
Besides that thing with Blair tonight, I can't think of anything.
Go to the museum thing? Can I get breakfast?
I did not make it, I was working.
Oh, yes, right.
You came down for the emergency services barbecue and had hamburgers, didn't you?
Yeah, your girlies were there, weren't they?
They were there, I was working.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
you did the wheelchair.
I did the wheelchair, I
Yeah.
did that, yes.
there you go. You've done all kinds of things.
Well, I can't think of anything I've done for the last 2 weeks.
I went to work.
I just worked nonstop. Okay, Councilor Rattle, what you been up to?
Yeah, I attended the wheelchair challenge. I appreciate Dave Johnston and the folks there that put that all together. It's definitely confronting to try to navigate the infrastructure with a wheelchair. Some bumps you think you can just walk over, but my goodness, try to wheel over them is very difficult. I think we should take that with us as we move forward with capital improvements. Obviously, there's some need to improve curb downs, bumps and such. Other than that, nothing really to report. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Wall.
I'd like to start off my report with a motion to include in the infrastructure master plan permanent traffic calming measures in residential neighborhoods. Since a lot of the information we've been getting has been that the speed bumps aren't working out and they're maybe not a good long-term solution. While we're working on that project, I think it'd be important to include that in there.
Okay, can you say what exactly your motion is again, sorry?
Oh, the motion is to include in the infrastructure master plan permanent traffic calming measures in residential neighborhoods.
Okay, can I get a seconder on that?
I'll second it to bring it to discussion because I'm sorry.
You're as confused as me, please ask.
Well, no, I'm just thinking the infrastructure management plan.
No, not management plan, master plan. That's being worked on.
It's the one that's currently being developed. Yeah. Oh, it's to include that within the development.
Yeah.
Why I think that would be significant is, like I mentioned, like there's a lot of design theory behind this, that when you have roads that are too wide, people think they can speed down them. Some people have curb outs, some people have things that kind of pinch the street a little bit, so visually people aren't so gung-ho to speed. The speed bumps, yes, they're kind of a pain for vehicles, they're a pain for trailers, and also they damage the roads. So there's clearly got to be a better solution. There's research in this. I think that the exploration of traffic calming measures should be considered in the infrastructure master plan because I believe that it would already be, right? My assumption is it would be considered. But we should, if we want to specify that's an option.
Yeah.
I'm not talking speed bumps, by the way. I'm talking just general design theory that will slow traffic down.
Okay.
Curb outs and
So
intersections.
Because like we have the infrastructure master plan that we're looking at, which is looking at our sewer, water, roads, right? But also part of that as well would not be a transportation plan for the village and a traffic flow pattern, or like traffic flow and transportation within the village. Would that not be part of that, or is that a separate?
So we've done a scope, like we've discussed scope on a transportation master plan phase 2 with McElhaney. The scope did not include traffic calming or traffic flow, like as really part of the, like that hasn't been part of the scope design to date. But that doesn't mean it's offside or not able to be incorporated. The strategic approach that we've been trying to incorporate is, I think, 2, maybe threefold. It's kind of trying to forecast capital replacement over asset life cycles and incorporating that into the budget. And it's trying to avoid the scenario of you replace one pipe 1 year and then you pay it the next, or vice versa, etc. It's just trying to make sense of all of that, prioritize replacements on a certain time frame, and a little bit of sidewalk work as well.
So the idea behind the motion here is, in the infrastructure master plan, it'll give us an idea of where the areas that need improvement are. So to include traffic calming in that would allow the engineers to look at problem intersections or problem streets where people are speeding, where there's a lot of quad complaints, so that we can come up with a plan eventually to when we're repaving the road, or when we're replacing that stop sign, or when we're doing whatever, maybe there's an alternative that would slow people down.
Yeah, I wasn't intending to argue against Councillor Wall there. I was just trying to say it hasn't really been the general approach to date, but we don't have the scope for phase 2 designed yet. So this is a entirely good thing.
What's the feasibility and capacity on adding that addition? Like that sounds like that could potentially be hours of work. That's what I'm wondering.
It could be a lot. Like it would be. I think it would almost be there'd be a distinct scope in like, okay, how does traffic move through the community, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's a relevant consideration to the replacement of the roads that you guys have. But largely it was kind of a asset management and financial prudence approach is what we were doing. But again, if you folks want that added in there, I can.
Well, I'm just wondering if maybe you could bring back a report that would give us a bit of an idea of what that would feasibly look like.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. It's likely going to be in-house at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like we did quote out, or like we did toss around with the engineer the notion of having phase 2, which is roads and was independently prepared. We didn't see from that there was unique expertise. I don't mean any disrespect to our engineer partners. They're awesome. We really appreciate them, but we didn't see that it wasn't something that we couldn't do internally. So we're probably trying to move it in-house. So yeah, if we want to do more traffic design, stuff like that, then maybe that changes that calculus, but we can at least provide a report back to you and see how practical it
Yeah,
is.
that's why I'm thinking of going in the direction of a report versus automatically adding it in. Yes.
So my understanding is the infrastructure master plan was approved at a previous meeting for the scope of the several phases, correct? And the funding for that was
Yeah.
approved, right?
Scope of phase 1A and 1B, which is water modeling program, and then the sewer sewer development.
So what I'm trying to get at is, so then phase 2, which deals with the roads and infrastructure and so on and so forth, that is something that will come back to council for
Correct.
approval and funding anyways.
That's correct.
So how about,
We earmark it.
why don't, when the phase 2 approach, when it comes back to council, we include a line that's specifying traffic calming measures and that research and studying of that, and we can include it then instead of a separate report. Maybe that's how we function.
Like I say, not a bad idea by council.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, I hope I'm not coming across as any kind of negative towards it. It's just, I'm trying to reacclimate, my evil plan, with
No, I like what Councillor Ravel's saying. It is gonna come back.
Yeah,
That is
so it
something
comes
we
back.
can earmark for that before jumping the gun on it. Okay.
I'm open to it.
All right, so I still have your motion on the floor to add it in right immediately, so I'm gonna call the question on that, and then,
I propose an amendment instead, if I may.
okay,
I propose that we amend it so that we direct staff with the development of the phase 2 infrastructure master plan, that traffic calming measures be considered in phase 2. Something of that sort, like we rejig the motion.
okay.
Because then it gives them time to.
Are you comfortable with that, Councillor Wall?
Yes, I am.
Okay?
Because it gives them time to pull, like, where we
Yeah.
have our highest complaints or where we have the most
Yeah.
issues, and then,
Yeah.
because really, when we look at the grand scheme of things, it's gonna be water and sewer that get fixed, road base gets fixed, then the road gets fixed,
Yeah.
and then sidewalks, and then mitigation tech, right? It's a process before a person gets there, but again, it's like I said, it is a good.
I'm thinking
thing to
10-year
think about.
plan here. Like, we know
Yeah.
once we know where the pipes need to be fixed, we're digging up that road anyways. When we fix it, let's fix it right.
Okay, I'm gonna call the question on that. All those in favor? All right, sounds good. Anything else on your report, Councillor Wall?
Oh yeah, I'm in my report. I was happy to take part in the wheelchair challenge. It was a great opportunity to better understand some of the accessibility barriers around the village. It was eye-opening for me. That said, I appear to have approached the exercise with a little bit too much enthusiasm. Unfortunately, I was the only participant to both tip over and fall in the ditch,
Wow.
which, while not planned, did provide me with a very direct and memorable example of the importance of accessible and well-maintained infrastructure. Thankfully, I received no injuries other than my ego and possibly my reputation for being so graceful.
Yeah.
But I would like to extend a thank you to Mr. Johnston for giving us the opportunity to have the experience. And
Yeah.
now that we have firsthand knowledge, I'm trying to bring that into my everyday decision-making process, which it was actually, it provided me a lot more than I thought it was going to, and I thought it was going to provide quite a bit. So I want to thank Mr. Johnston for that. And yeah, I wasn't able to attend the museum grand opening. I heard it went well. I talked to Mr. Deus about it. So congrats to him on another successful opening. And I also wasn't able to attend Chief DeVoe's 35-year service award tonight. So whoever talks to him next, can you please extend my congratulations and thank yous to him as well. That's about it.
Wonderful. Councillor Woodall?
Alright, so yeah, I attended the grand opening of the museum. I actually skipped it before the pancake breakfast started. I went at 6 in the morning, helped get set up, and then as everything was kicking off, I snuck out and went home. So yeah, What else did we do? We also had the emergency services appreciation barbecue the other day, so it was great to see a bunch of different emergency services people come out and tow trucks and some of the community. Pelly provided the barbecue that day, excellent burgers. So yeah, what else did we do? Blair's 35th today as well. We did the wheelchair challenge. Coming up this weekend, I do believe on Sunday is the Legion's AGM for this year as well.
And it's at the school.
It's at the school, yeah, and the community center. And I would also like to, just gonna pull up here, I'd also like to put a motion on the floor today as well. So, my motion is to direct Village of Pooskoopi staff to continue to work with the City of Dawson Creek and the Peace River Regional District and develop an intergovernment agreement on emergency support services and emergency operation centers, as well as making our mobile ESS trailer that we got through a grant available as a regional asset to support the region.
Seconded by
And
Councillor Johnston.
yeah,
Okay.
that's my motion. I'll send it.
Discussion regarding the motion? Councillor Ravel?
Sorry, just for clarification, sorry, is this an agreement or we're just designating this asset as a regional piece? Sorry. I'm confused.
So what it is I'm making the motion to officially move us forward into filling actually one of our OCP designations, because one of our things on our OCP has been to develop an EOC, or emergency support, emergency operations center, or emergency support services. Unfortunately, due to our staffing within the village and the size of the village and the resources we have available in village, we don't necessarily have the ability to do it at any kind of scale on our own. The regional district is also very much in that same boat. They rely on neighboring municipalities to assist them, and they have agreements with them, and same with the City of Dawson Creek, they're our closest neighbor. So quite regularly, actually already our staff is already working with them under EDMA, the Emergency Management Act. It's actually required through legislation that we work with our neighboring partners and First Nations. So bringing this motion forward is just to kind of give staff that official, let's move forward with this as per our OCP, and then to take assets like that mobile ESS trailer we have and be able to make that available throughout the region, especially with fire season coming up. The other part of it too is the EOC and ESS in Dawson Creek and within the regional district and with some of our neighboring municipalities sometimes have staffing issues for the first 24 to 48 hours when a incident happens, because they also have to maintain business continuity, right, and keep their day-to-day business going, but they also need staff and personnel and equipment to run these operations. Some of it's done through volunteers, but some of it isn't. So what this does is, as we move into an intergovernment agreement with the regional district and the City of Dawson Creek, if they're game for it, is it allows us to kind of move our staff around. So if, for instance, using this as an example, there's a big fire or a big disaster and they need to staff up the emergency operations center before they can get contractors in and other supports in, we could theoretically within the village of Pooskoopi drop down to a skeleton staff in the office, so 1 or 2 people answering the phones for safety, and being able to direct some of our other trained staff to go assist the regional district or the City of Dawson Creek in those events. And we've done it in the past. A couple of years ago during the fires, council actually unanimously said, hey, any staff that needs to go support these things, go do it. But what this is doing is this would then move it into that next realm so that we don't have to come back to council and be like, hey, can we go help these guys?
Yeah.
It's already said, it's already established. And then with part of that, there's some give and take. So we don't have the resources in Pooskoopi to have, people stay in hotels and get their meals and stuff if they get evacuated. Dawson Creek does, right? The regional district has different, so everybody can bring something to the table and help each other out. The other thing is, within Pooskoopi, we're also extremely limited. If we do have an incident, the only building in town that can handle this kind of stuff is our fire hall, but that's also our operations center where our fire hall is running out of. And speaking from somebody that's been in operations centers and ran first responders and done that kind of stuff, you don't want your first responders running out of the same place you're trying to run municipal business, because we still have to keep municipal business going. We don't want people that are sheltering to be sheltering in there. Some little kid with his teddy bear in the corner, would much rather him and his family be in a hotel where they're comfortable and have access to meals, right? We don't need people mulling around the office when we're trying to have sensitive conversations, right? So having these agreements in place with our neighboring municipalities and the regional district allows for us to work together And it also helps with funding gaps within the regional district and within the city of Dawson Creek or within Goose Coopy, because there's certain grant avenues that come up, and if they're working collaboratively, each one can apply for a different part of the grant, right? Because I know there has been ones in the area that have applied for mobile ESS trailers to be utilized within the area, but their funding was denied. But yet Goose Coopy got the grant for a mobile ESS trailer. And the reality is, we have the trailer, we don't necessarily have the staff that can run it, and be able to staff it properly. But we sure as heck can say, yeah, we'll hook it onto the truck and we will send it to wherever you need. We just need staff. So then they can theoretically pull staff from the regional district, City of Dawson Creek, and some contractors in to better assist everybody. So what this does is, and again comes back to our OCP as well, is it allows staff to start having that conversation and officially hammer out an agreement so it's in place. You know, and like we're coming up on fire season really fast. And I know the regional district's EOC has been up and running, and their ESS has been going up on Fort St. John to Old Fort for, you know, better part of a month now. And we're just coming into the beginning of fire season, so it's gonna get worse. And long term, and like Mayor Beach has been through some of these presentations, and the long term forecast is the fires are gonna get worse, emergencies are gonna get worse. And also by 2029, we also have a requirement under the Emergency Management and Disasters Act to collaborate with our neighboring municipalities and First Nations. So this is just council saying, yeah, okay, here's the official, let's get moving forward on this. And I imagine it'll come back to us for final approval before we're set up. Does that answer your question?
So to clarify, it sounds like it's two parts. One is to develop and negotiate an intergovernmental agreement for ESS and EOC with Dawson and PRD. And then the second part is to designate a village asset, the mobile response unit, as a regional asset. And so with that, I'm all for the spirit of it, totally. Am I correct in that understanding? That's the two-parter? Okay. I assume that we already have some sort of agreements or legislation to follow, so I guess we'll figure out that process on the first side. And then on the second side with the mobile unit, I assume that because we have it now, we've obtained it, we can designate it as see fit. My concerns are, what about the grant that we received it? Does it specify that we can do that or not? And then the other piece would be, well, it's our village asset, we have insurances on it, so on and so forth. What exposure does that put us at? I'm all for the spirit of it.
So to answer your question, so what happens in the event of emergency, right, is there's a wildfire, there's a big disaster. What happens is Emergency Management BC, EMBC gets called, right, and they issue what's called a task number, right? So for this year, it's 2027-1234567, right, whatever number they give it. That number is essentially a PO number. So when that task number comes in, and Duncan, we'll use Duncan as an example, receives a phone call from the province saying, hey, you know, this is the event, you've been authorized under this task number, the City of Dawson Creek would like to request to use your ESS trailer, or if City of Dawson or the regional district phone and say, hey, I've got a task number, here it is, then the village of Goose Coopy is actually eligible for reimbursement from the provincial government at a set provincial government rate. So there's so much a day for the trailer, there's so much per kilometer for the trailer, the truck will pull the trailer, there's kilometers for that, and also potentially the staffing as well of that can potentially be billed back to the province. So anything that's EOC related or ESS related, for the most part, over and above your normal working day for exempt staff, for instance, is eligible to bill those expenses, the additional expenses, back to the province. So like when we activated our level 1 EOC, the administrative time that Mr. Malkinson or intern spent dealing with that, right, over and above the overtime normally for us, is we pay the overtime and then it's eligible for reimbursement back to the province. No different than that asset. If that asset goes out because it's been requested with a legitimate task number to go assist, you know, one else, what's in John or whatever, we get reimbursement for it.
Go past, yeah.
Nice.
Second.
All those in favor?
So the only time that trailer would ever move, other than if we used it locally, would be with a task number, and then it's covered under liability, and there's a reimbursement cost. So the asset would eventually, for asset replacement, as that asset gets utilized, it actually starts to.
I think the language that's tripping me up is we're not really handing it over to the RD as an
It'll make it
asset.
available as a regional asset. So there's a difference between an asset and a regional asset. So there's an asset of something you own as an asset, but a tool that you can utilize is also an asset. So in this case, from a response perspective, it's an asset no different than a fire truck. If we send a fire truck to Dawson Creek, that's sending them an asset. We still own and retain that asset for ownership, but we're lending that asset out for them to use.
Yeah, I don't understand your motion to be saying, hey, Duncan, give away our trailer, please. Like, you're saying, hey, work with the other.
Make it
parties.
available as a regional asset.
Okay.
Last question, and then I'm gonna call the question. I'm sorry, this is.
I mean,
Well, two pieces, I think maybe we should crack it into two motions, frankly, like if I can.
They go together because
It's a one piece mold.
it's a one piece that all goes together, because that trailer goes with the,
Well, the agreement, or the intergovernmental agreement?
the trailer would be covered in, under that, and, because it would also, because the other thing is, we already have, so to put it into perspective for you, we already have mutual aid agreements with the city of Dawson Creek and the regional district
yeah,
when it
that's
comes
what I'm
to
thinking.
fire apparatus.
Yeah.
Right? So any one of our fire trucks, upon request, can be sent anywhere in the region to assist, or the province, in the case of a wildfire, which we have sent out, has given the village a task number and says, hey, we need fire trucks and firefighters, we send them out. So this trailer would be the exact same boat, and we get reimbursed.
Are we missing that though? No, I mean, are we missing, like, why is the trailer not able to go out right now and get reimbursed?
Because we just got it, and right now it's only set for Scoop. We haven't made it available for other people to use. We haven't said, hey, we have this cool tool over here, if you would like to utilize it, we can do that. That's what this motion is basically so that our emergency service, like our emergency emergency support services assets can be utilized within the region, no different than our fire trucks.
This is supported by our fire chief, right?
He's aware of it. I've had these conversations with them. I've had a conversation with Mr. Malkinson before this came forward, because this is in line with our OCP.
if City of Dawson Creek or the RD asked for our trailer presently, like, again, I'm not trying to, we would move hell and water to try to support our regional partners in any circumstance, right? So if there was a need for it, we'd be trying to make it happen.
And we're essentially, we're just formalizing the agreement, so then we don't have to go back to councils every single time for approval for it. Allow staff that autonomy is staff up, staff down, and adjust as dynamically as the event unfolds, without being Duncan going, sorry guys, I know you really need the asset, but I gotta wait until I can get all my council in the same room while I'm out in the middle of, Timbuktu delivering evacuation notices, right? So.
I love an excuse to complain about, so.
What?
Hey, no.
All I would suggest is one part be an agreement development. The other part is, then we should probably have a policy about lending out assets for wildfires and stuff in the region, and just do it under a policy instead of a motion. That's all I'm saying.
What do you
That's
do
my
for
last
fire
piece.
assets? Like, there's already, fire mutual agreements have been in existence
Yeah,
since
totally.
forever, right? Long before we were here. This motion just puts it into the realm now that staff can start moving that forward and bring it back to us for final approval.
It helps.
All those in favor? Unanimous and carried, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add to your?
I can give you another 20-minute lecture.
Sorry, God, please don't.
Tell us about interior renovations.
Shut up.
Sorry, that sounded good.
And I'm nowhere near the subject matter expert on this, right? There's much smarter people than me that deal with this.
I suppose.
So, was there anything else? You're all good?
No, that was everything that was related to village stuff,
Okay.
as far as I know.
Alrighty, I'm gonna go through mine really fast. I went to the Northern Tourism AGM, it went really, really well. It was nice to see everybody, great reception. I learned that there's a little space model museum that's in the old Ford Asphalt that's really cool. I know, right?
What? Sorry?
Space Model Museum. So it's, yeah, it's
Like
literally,
models.
like
Yeah, little
models.
plastic spaceships.
Yeah.
Where?
No, in Dawson.
No, in Dawson.
It's in the old, Asphalt Mocha.
The B2B? or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
yes.
Miniature.
So,
I've never heard of
miniature.
it.
Yeah, they got a little Artemis in there.
If you're looking to support some really cool local dude who has a passion for space models, it's donation. You can head on in. The car show is probably the best time to go because you're already kind of around there. So I went to that. Great people. I mentioned to the gentleman who has the space exhibit, well, maybe doing something at Canada Day, maybe having a little exhibit for a little booth for kids to come and see. I then attended a community-to-community roundtable with Dwight River First Nations. It was really, really nice to see them. That's through my PRD hat. They've just recently opened up a new cafe right on Dwight River. That sounds so delicious. I can't remember its name. The Kukakala? I don't know. Anyway, if you're in Dwight River, check it out. It's a fresh homemade cafe that they've just opened. They've got donuts.
Is it by the new gas station?
It is. It's right next to it. Yeah. So check it out. Really exciting news for them. I then attended the wheelchair accessibility event here in town. That was hard and horrifying when I was across the highway. I went to my PRD board meeting. Nothing really stuck out for me there. I didn't really have a bunch to bring back other than the AI thing I brought back for Duncan. Myself and Mr. Malkinson attended the PRD meeting regarding the rec and culture. We don't really have much to bring back at this point. We are having another meeting with them in a matter of weeks. So as that develops, we will definitely be having that conversation. And then I attended the emergency preparedness open house here. Very, very well done. Fantastic job to our fire chief, our firefighters, the Toms Lake firefighters came out, the Peace River Regional District, Fire Smart. We had, we had a ton of tow trucks. It was a fantastic event. Pelly, the food was delicious. So awesome job to them. It was well attended. I was pretty happy with it. And then I did the MS flag raising. The flag is flying outside of our village office currently. It will be up there for another
month.
Okay, perfect. So for the whole month of May.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And then I've been meeting with staff on and off, most recently about getting ready for our conferences, trying to make sure that we stay in budget as best as we can while accommodating an extra conference, which I think we've actually maybe done, which is very exciting. I went to the museum open house and pancake breakfast. I wasn't able to stay for the whole thing. I was only there till 10, but I hope they had a great turnout. Les and everybody did a great job. I was glad to see that there wasn't quite as much junk there this year. I know poor Les has had an issue where people have used him as a bit of a dumping ground, and it seems this year it was a much better, so I was very happy to see that. The pancake breakfast didn't look super well attended when I was there, but I'm hoping more people arrived after.
We could have got a 97 at 350 in that price.
Yeah, right, man, oh man.
Missed opportunity.
I then presented at the Poughkeepsie Elementary School regarding the Legacy Project, so I went in as a special guest and showed them pictures of the community from the past almost 100 years that we have been here. So they're working on the Legacy Project. The boards are getting ready for next week. So that's really, really exciting. Drawing should hopefully be in front of you before by the next council meeting. And then I attended this evening for the Long Service Award for our Fire Chief Blair, who, congratulations to him and his family and all the amazing things that he has. I also am going to be putting a motion on the floor. Mine is super, super simple. I would like the council to allow myself and Mr. Malkinson to host a volunteer appreciation barbecue on June 27th with a budget not exceeding $500. Can I get a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Rabel. So I normally do this barbecue every year. I couldn't do it last year because the fire season popped up so fast. And I try not to get in the way of our firefighters, so I didn't do it last year. I'm hoping that by the end of month, it's not going to be any more worse than it is now. But if by chance I have to cancel it because it doesn't work with our firefighters, I'll definitely let you know. But as it stands right now, I would like to host it for June 27th, and I hope that you all can make it. It's an appreciation barbecue for our firefighters, our museum board, our library board, our food bank board, our seniors board, just all of the people who volunteer and work so hard to keep our community running and a wonderful place to live. So can I get all those in favor? Any opposed? None. Perfect. Nobody's here for question period, so I make the recommendation that we move to in-camera as per the community charter as per section 91C, 91D, 91I. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councilor Whittle. All those in favor? We're going to take a short break before we move into close.
Cool.